changed the profile of racing completely. All of a sudden, you had riders who basically, you were thinking, what on earth is the strategy here? And they were putting themselves in the shop window. And so we kind of got to expect the unexpected, quite frankly. And some of the team formations and the strategies that we've known in the past disappeared. And it was very much hit and hope, and it made for very dramatic racing. And the youngsters, Brian, they've grown up only knowing that form of racing. Tadej Pogačar, I guess you might say, he's very familiar with, indeed, racing like that. And younger riders, even than him, thinking this is the norm. But for us, it's completely refreshing and really entertaining.
Well, just look at Frank Vandenbroek there. He was really kind of stretching it out, the Novo Nordisk rider of Rodolfo, just kind of losing a bike length there, making the effort. He's really kind of pushing things on. Look at the peloton stretched out a little bit more now. They had a couple of laps relaxed, but now they are racing. 5 minutes to the group in front, and I think for DSM, Firmenich Post NL, bit of a surprise to put Frank Vandenbroek in the front group, but if they want to win with the likes of Kevin Vermaak or Warren Barguil or Romain Bardet, they want it, a hard race.
Sweeping down harbour side, just about to complete 4 laps of this race. In a short while, we're going to be joined by Jez Cox and Michael Hutchison, Dr. Hutch to you, me, and wider cycling public, who will be carrying you through the next 4 laps. And we'll be chopping and changing and enjoying your good company the deeper we get into today. Here is your mountains classification, and only 2 points have gone to Frank Vandenbroek. Hemel has got the 1, and Jonas Watson has picked up the other solitary point. They do magnify those points in terms of their gravity the deeper we get into this race, because it's a wearing down process, and they want to reward those who are still around, taking on the mountains late on. So they didn't just get a breakaway skipping off up the road and just bagsing that competition. Not at all. Seems a bit unkind on the breakaway, I must admit, but we're not here to be kind, we're here to be entertained. And this course, I think, does precisely that. So as the peloton just come around this little quad here, just near the Citadel, and up towards the battlefields, which indeed rage at the top here. We did historically. Don't get metal detector out, you don't know what you'll find, quite frankly. The gap nudging up towards 5 minutes has actually become quite a healthy one. I suggest that the engine room is Frank Vandenbroek and Artem Schmidt. However, that's not that they're not sharing the duties, as indeed we are here at Discovery, Eurosport, or indeed on Max, or wherever you happen to be watching. It's a pleasure to have your company. Don't forget, if you subscribe to digital, then you can have your coverage uninterrupted by advertising. So time for a drink, time for a gel. Brian and I will do exactly that. Obviously, I'm going for pear crumble and custard because I want Brian. But yeah, the gap is nudging up towards the 5 minute mark. A healthy advantage, I think it's fair to say, to the brave quintet up the road, Jez.
Absolutely, Carlton. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian. This is Jez, and I have Dr. Michael Hutchinson with me. Hello, Hutch.
Hi, Jez.
Hello, mate. Nice to be on with you, and we are going to be taking our viewers through around about the next, well, in fact, I say around about, I'm joking. We are taking them through the next 4 laps because we've mathematically divided up this race.
We divided 16 by 4, and we got
Yes, we have.
4, and we were mightily pleased with ourselves.
Well, Hutch, as you'll know from my time covering Philippe Ganna's hour record with you, I'm not very good with numbers. Dividing
If you
anything
divided
in
16 by 4, you could have got anything.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's about my limit, I have to tell you. But it is good to have you here because you'll help me stay on top of exactly what lap they're on. Just the bare minimum of what I need to know. Anyway, here in the front of peloton, the aforementioned Tom, and it is, as Carlton's been saying, nearly 5 minutes of lead. I've just got this sneaky feeling, Hutch, that it might sort of sit at 5 minutes, and that might be the limit of what some of the stronger teams in here want. Maybe we'll see, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first out of the first lap, 1:47, then it went to 3:45, then 4:26, and now 4:53 at the end of the last lap. So it's sort of stabilising around there. And certainly, the peloton is clearly pulling a little bit harder than it was in the early stages.
Yeah, it was the two. Let's not forget the two riders from Novo Nordisk, the American team.
Oh boy, did they attack fast!
They did. They did indeed. Well, they went right from the gun. It is, as Carlton mentioned, it's very rare, isn't it? In fact, it's always a strange thing to see when you do see it, when we have effectively a gridded start. No roll-in, no neutralised section, literally criterium style. I wouldn't be surprised if one or two of the riders were doing what you would do in a criterium and hanging on to the barrier at the edge with your feet clipped in already. So
holding on to the fence territory, isn't it? It certainly that's what it looked like. Yeah, and I knew there wasn't a neutralised zone, but they went even faster than I expected. And that break I've never seen a break established so fast. It just got itself together and went.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for them, now at the moment, both of the Novo Nordisk riders, including Filippo Rodolfo, are out the back. Rodolfo at the moment is dangling off the back of that break. They might get a chance to get back on. I don't know how you feel about it, Hutch, and we can have a decent conversation about this, I guess, because we're in the build-up to those World Championships, of course, that are coming up and starting next weekend with the Para Road World Championships in Zurich, of course, and building 2 weeks this Sunday, of course, towards that men's road race. What do you think about circuits like this? Because this is, in a strange kind of way, this is just as Carlton mentioned, this has got me thinking of Glasgow of last summer, and of course I know the road race came onto the circuit with like 120, 130k to go, whatever it was. But I'll stick my neck out early. I love it. I love the big crowd. I love the fact that it's the same crowd every time, and they get to see the riders coming past. What do you think?
I like circuit race. It always seems odd to me in a way that the World Championships every year is essentially a circuit race, quite often with a bit of a kind of an introductory amble around wherever it is. But you so rarely see that kind of race on the calendar. It makes the races in Canada unusual. And yeah, I enjoy it. It's great to go and watch. It's a lot more engaging than going to watch a point-to-point race. You have to go and stand one of the key spots, and even then, if you go and stand in the forest of Arenberg and Paris-Roubaix, yes, it's astonishing, but you still only see them once. You can go and park yourself on that steep climb near the funicular railway and watch riders coming past every 12 kilometres. I really like the idea.
Yes. Well, it's these are still quite young races as well. This is the 13th edition of the Grand Prix Cycliste de Quebec here in Canada, and I can't help but think that, I don't know much, and I'd be keen to find out is whether the lap format is sort of something that's deliberately aimed at being the perfect build-up to a World Championship, because so often the World Championships are based on circuits just like this in big cities. And here we are today in Quebec doing exactly that. Sunday in Montreal, it's exactly the same again, although it's a much hillier affair than Sunday. But with 2 weeks to go before the World Road Race Champs, it is just seemingly perfect. There must have been some thought that went into that in terms of it being that much of a big deal. Yes, it's a world tour race, which means that all of the biggest teams in the world will be here. But it on paper, it's got to be the perfect build-up, isn't it?
Well, it is. You've got two races in 2 days with slightly different flavours. I mean, it'd be hard to improve on it, really, in terms of where it is and what it is.
Well, this is Logan Curry, the Kiwi, on the front for Lotto Destiny, just adjusting his earpiece. And I have to say, we watched the riders going through. At times today, watching this over the first four, now the fifth lap we're on, it's looked pretty relaxed in there, hasn't it? Yes, it's strung down to one line, but not going crazy. And at times, one or two of the riders, dare I say, they look like they're enjoying themselves, which we can't have, can we?
Well, it's a long old race. It's kind of 200 kilometres. We're going to talk about it being a circuit. It's 200 kilometres, 16 laps of a circuit. It kind of underlines the length of the race in a way. You know, if you're riding it, you know in a very kind of graphic sense exactly how far you've got to go. The first 2 or 3 laps, certainly for the peloton, were very relaxed. These guys in the break were pushing reasonably hard and pulled out the gap quite fast, although it is beginning just to shade down now. They've lost 20 odd seconds in the last lap, so we'll see how that develops.
Yep, it's still Frank van den Broek on the front here.
He's very much been driving this, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah. Well, looking at their team,
is Roman Bardet the weirdest idea anybody ever had for this race? I mean, he was top 10 a couple of years ago.
Maybe Hutch, the thinking is that now Roman Bardet and Frank van den Broek have to go together after the stage 1 of the Tour de France this year. Those two obviously clicked. So it's like, right, okay, this is what we're going to do. We'll go with those two. Wasn't it just, I still think that's one of my favourite stages of this. It was just brilliant. It's always so nice to see two teammates come to the line together like that.
Yeah.
We so rarely get that. It was special. You know, someone right at the end of their career, and then Van den Broek here, really right at the beginning of his career, despite the fact that he's been riding so well this year. It was nice.
It kind of always had a hint of the lovely shots you get down the finishing straight of a sprinter winning the sprint and the lead out guy in kind of 25th place with his arms in the air. It's sort of like that without everybody in between. It was kind of nice to see that kind of team effort.
I wonder whether in next year's Tour de France Unchained, we'll get to hear some of the conversations about the decision between those two. It's got to come out.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I'd like to hear that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking it's all going to be on the radio somewhere, isn't it? And I'm not sure. I must admit, I'm not a Netflix guy, and I'm not sure which of the teams are kind of big players in it. But it would be really good if I know DSM have been, so that would be an interesting one to watch out for.
Well, the other kind of Netflix star we're missing here is Tom Pidcock, because he was supposed to be here and got a concussion at the Tour of Britain last week. And he was kind of him and his relationship with the team were kind of a big feature of the current Netflix show.
Yes, you mentioned the Tour of Britain. I was lucky enough last week, Hutch, to be on the ground there, talking nonsense into a microphone live, and annoying people at the roadside, which was really good.
Make some noise.
Yeah, bang those boards. Yes, all that kind of thing. Welcome back, those of you just been away on a break. Michael Hutchinson and I were just talking about the fact that Tom Pidcock would have been here in the build-up to the UCI World Road Championships and had a crash. I missed it, actually, while I was covering race live, but had a crash in the Tour of Britain and has suffered a concussion as well. So, Tom, if you're watching this, get well soon. It's just one of those things. And he was riding particularly well. It was really interesting, though, Michael, being on the ground, talking to people about Ineos Grenadiers during, I'm not going to make it a very British thing, but during the Tour of Britain, hearing what people who were working on the race, fans, people at the roadside, and one or two of the riders had to say, mostly off the record, about where Ineos Grenadiers are at the moment. And I know Lance Armstrong's made some comments the last couple of days, I think over the last 24 hours, in fact, about what he thinks is going on within the team and maybe what needs to happen. I'm not necessarily asking for your explicit opinion, Hutch, but it's not an easy time for those riders. And I really got a sense of that. And I'll say this myself. My visual take on it is that there appeared to be little groupings of riders, even within their Tour of Britain team happening last week, in terms of the two Swift cousins, and, well, kind of the Yorkshire boys, Pidcock included in that, they seem to be working very well together. And there's something not right. I don't know what it is, but there was a real feeling as well around the way they rode that they're kind of getting to the end of this season. Not the Team Sky of old.
Yeah, I mean, the team slid from being the all-conquering, all-dominating to kind of a slightly also-run feeling team in quite a brief period of time. Suddenly, it went from being the Team Sky show, the Ineos show, to being the Visma show, to being the UAE show. Clearly, the accident that Egan Bernal had was a big blow because they had built an awful lot of their GC plans around him, and suddenly that wasn't an option they had, and they didn't really seem to have a plan B at that point. Tom Pidcock has produced a lot of interest and a lot of excitement, but he's not yet the kind of rider that they need. Ooh, sorry, somebody crossing the road in front of the bunch, which is what we'd like to see. But they haven't kind of got that kind of key marquee rider for the Grand Tours yet, and that's kind of what they need. I mean, my friend Dan Bigham left Ineos earlier this year and was kind of quite spiky in leaving. He's sort of saying he wanted to go and join a team that was more interested in winning, and he didn't feel that Ineos were kind of giving him the support to do the things that he wanted to do to help the team win. It kind of gave the impression of a not completely happy ship.
Yes, that's
with which a ship appears on the screen.
Yeah. Very good. Someone's listening. That's always encouraging. Now, there is a happy ship.
That looks like a happy
bit of a
ship,
badge there as well. I don't know if that's ever happened before. That's genius, that is. You knew that was coming. You must have known.
Well, it's a North Seaway. It's full of ships. It was bound to happen eventually. I keep saying the word ship often enough.
Yeah. This is the ferry across the Saint Laurent River, of course, which links Quebec City with levees to the south as well, going across it. I have some notes somewhere on that ferry as well. I'm just have a little dig. Where are they? No, I'll find them a bit later. They're here somewhere, though. It's, of course, a vital link because that river is absolutely massive and extends eventually eastward all the way out into the Atlantic. Of course, if you go westward from where they are, about 250 kilometres, it will take you to Montreal, where we are racing on Sunday. Two quite different races, but pretty much almost exactly the same field as well. I've noticed already, Hutch, there are a few riders who are doing this one and not doing Sunday, but most of the world teams will be pretty similar, not least because it's such a big journey for a lot of them, not all of them, but quite a big journey for a lot of them to get here. So keeping the same team for two races makes sense. Here he is, the man himself, Arnaud Delis, who remarkably still at the age of 22 is winning left, right and centre. 6 wins this season already. Not quite matching Tadej Pogacar. Now, Hutch, I'm looking you in the eye. Don't look down at your notes. So if Arnaud Delis got 6 wins this year, right, we know he's a bull-like sprinter. Tadej Pogacar's winning left, right and centre. How many wins do you think Pogacar's got this year? Don't look down at your notes. Because it nearly blew my head off.
4, 5?
4 or 5? He's got 21 wins this year.
Oh, you mean
apparently.
including all the stages?
Sorry, including stage races.
Yeah.
And stages, but 21. I looked at it and I had to think, no, that just cannot be right. Unbelievable. Not least when you consider a couple of breaks he's had, because he's had a break.
Yeah, well,
now,
it's 52 days since he finished the tour.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a ride he put on his socials in the week, which someone was back calculating off the data on the screen that his functional threshold power.
Hang on, was this someone you?
No, it wasn't. I'm not completely convinced about the maths involved in working this out, but one of them, an American geek, figured out that from the numbers on the screen in terms of the training stress score that was there and the distance and the speed and the rest of it, that his functional threshold power is kind of his hour power, if you like, would be about 450 watts for a 65 kilo guy, which is, that's a lot, if that's right. I mean, it doesn't sound, considering what he can do, it doesn't sound absurd. But in his press conference here, he sounded like a man who was more interested in the attack than the sprint. He sort of said, well, if it's a sprint, I'll have a go. But he did sort of sound like he was thinking about we might call it the Stradibianchi manoeuvre. He was unwilling to be drawn on exactly where he'd attack, unlike Stradibianchi, where he said, I will attack here, and did so, and no one could do anything about it. He wouldn't actually offer a lap that he was going to go on, but he wouldn't put it past him.
Not at all. Let's remind ourselves he is going for the Triple Crown this year to join Stephen Roach and Eddie Merckx, and having done that in the same year, that is I always feel whenever we talk about this Triple Crown, Hutch, I always feel a bit sorry for the Vuelta. You know, we kind of bumped the Worlds up as being more important than the Vuelta.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like here the pair that I think maybe there was a point where that was slightly more the case. I think the Vuelta has become more important, even it is a bit of a sort of a last chance saloon since it moved to its current place in the schedule.
So this is the final little rise to the line. This time through, Jonas Walton, there he is, 2-3-4 on his back. And the Canadian national team takes the mountains points. And, well, he's level with Frank van der Broek now in that competition as well. Van der Broek sitting second wheel. And Artem Schmidt of Ineos Grenadiers rolling through on the front. He is another of those former Hagens-Berman, Axion or Hamensbergen Jayco riders. Was with them up until last year, in fact, and then did a stagiaire stint with Ineos Grenadiers, and is going to be staying with them through 2026. Hey, we missed it. I'm not even sure Carlton noticed the pink bottoms, which is quite unusual, Hutch.
I think if we'd seen those, Carlton would have mentioned them.
Yeah. Well, give us your artistic take on.
I quite like them. I'm kind of a bit surprised. Yeah, well, it was a modern art gallery, wasn't it? I was trying to read the branding on the side of it. So it's clearly a modern art gallery of some sort. So they're presumably promoting God, that's a steep hill, isn't it?
Yeah.
They sort of describe this as averaging 10%, and that's not the half of it. No. There's a funicular railway just sort of the other side of the buildings in the background. There's a funicular railway that goes straight up the hill. And that sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's a place to sit and watch a bike race.
Absolutely, particularly on an afternoon like this. This race started at 11 o'clock, so we're getting through the afternoon now, and we are bringing you live coverage of the whole thing, as we will for the Grand Prix Montreal on Sunday as well. Similar timings to this as well, so if you're watching this now, make sure you join us on Sunday afternoon. It's a busy old weekend, though. Carlton Kirby mentioned there are a few big names missing from this double World Tour weekend, with this in Quebec today and Montreal on Sunday, because of course it's the European Road Championships this weekend as well. Road races happening in Limburg in the Netherlands. Women's races tomorrow and the men's race on Sunday. Of course you can catch them all here at Home Cycling on Eurosport Discovery Plus and on Max, I believe, too. And this is going out on Max as well, so welcome to all our viewers who are watching on Max and on Discovery Plus, and of course on Eurosport as well. So many ways to catch up with the best of the racing, as you will have done, I'm certain, all season this year. Frank van der Broek leads through the line. That is the completion of the 5th lap of 16. So on to lap 6 now as well. Their lead is just under 5 minutes. Have you're my numbers man, Hutch. Have you noticed it go over 5 minutes, or is it just hovering?
It hasn't been over 5 minutes. It's been hovering sort of. It's been the last 3 laps has been 4:53, 4:38, and now 4:58. So it's not moving around very much. So Hamilton's still reasonably strong out, but maybe they've decided that they're happy. I mean, there's the Wanty team and. Sedal, Lotto Destiny, sorry, are clearly just keeping it under control. They're obviously looking towards a sprint finish, and they sort of seem to have it on a reasonable leash, don't they? They seem that they're in control of it at the minute.
I very much enjoyed some of Carlton Kirby's outsider picks earlier, Hutch. We know that this race seems to suit a kind of what I call like a staying sprinter. In fact, someone like Arnaud Delis, who can still produce megawatts after what we're seeing right now. Constant.
It's also the torque as well. It's because it's an uphill finish. You've got to accelerate it against quite a lot of inertia. So it's not quite the same thing as going on the flat. It's not, there are kind of three things going on, because there's the distance, but there's also what finish is. Is it a torquey finish, or is it kind of a flatter finish where you can accelerate faster in the wheels? And it's clearly going to reward someone like Lee. I mean, I don't know whether my pick for this would be Michael Matthews. It tends to be my default position. If I can't decide who's going to win a race, I say Michael Matthews, and I'm normally not far off. I'll be very sorry when he retires, because that's what I've been doing for years. But again, it's the same kind of thing. It's being able to sort of pick up the speed very quickly from 48, 50 k's an hour, rather than picking it up from 57, 60 k's an hour.
Yeah.
It's kind of, people talk about sort of power endurance, and it's kind of like power endurance sprinting, if that makes sense. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. It's
one of those coaching terms that doesn't really mean anything when you start analysing it, but everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, that ability to cope with the load over 16 laps like this again and again. Even we're into one of the little descents now, but even on the descents, it's not steep enough to be off the pedals, is it? So you are on the pedals an awful lot.
There's really only one descent on the course. The one back down through the park to the river again is really the only descent on the course that is a proper kind of freewheeling, get a bit of a break descent. Because the thing is, they kind of talk about there being 4 climbs on the course. Really, there are only 3, but they're packed in right at the end, and then there's a long plateau, and then you go downhill again. If you've seen some of the aerial shots, it's like a flattened rectangle, the whole course. You've got a flat bit along the river, and then you go up, and then there's a flattish bit, and then down again. So it's kind of like a big crit, really, isn't it?
And that is why I love it. It gives, I think, in a way, it aids the kind of the tactical element as well, because riders who've got things up their sleeve in here can be planning it lap after lap after lap, looking and thinking about where they're going to do things and what they're waiting for, and then what lap they might do it on.
And you start to get a feel for what hills you've got the strength on, because there are a few different gradients, a few different lengths. They say, they're all fairly closely packed together, but you start just lap after lap, you start to just see the bit where you find you're drifting forward through the bunch, or you're drifting backward through the bunch. You sort of see the bit that is right for you.
Well, Michael Hutchinson has mentioned Michael Matthews, double winner of this race in 2018 and 2019. It is sad that this race had 2 years out because of COVID. As Carlton mentioned, that was, of course, due to really the travelling rather than sort of restrictions within Canada itself. But it did mean that, that would have, in a way, that purple patch that Michael Matthews was in, he could have got his pretty desperate. And what we're not seeing shots of is how big the caravan of following cars are. I'm suspecting it's not massive either, because, and I might be wrong, Hutch, but I reckon a lot of these teams haven't got their own team vehicles with them and might well be using vehicles from the race direction itself. That's normally the way, isn't it?
There are quite a few team vehicles that aren't kind of fully livered. They've got those kind of magnetic sticker things you put on them. So there's a few of them around. There's obviously at the minute, I think I think they have to get the all clear from the commissaires to do that. I think the default is that you have to feed from the pit. Clear from the commissaires to do that. I think the default is that you have to feed from the pit area. And it's just as you said, it's a bit chaotic every time. That's the bottom of the descent we were saying. The only kind of really steep descent on the course, I think.
Yeah, so they're coming along the bottom of the gardens, which extend beneath the Plain d'Abraham, the Abraham Plains. It's all the extension of the edge of that battlefield that Martin Kirby was talking through.
He likes a battlefield as well.
He does. Well, it's quite remarkable what he was explaining as well about the English having won that battle. The date, by the way, I don't think he gave the date, 1759 to 1760. But French being spoken in this part of the east of Canada. And of course, that's been, over the years, I've noticed this, even myself being out there, Hutch, a useful way for Canadians to transition into racing in Europe. There's an awful lot of young Canadian riders, French-speaking Canadian riders specifically, who end up living and racing with club teams in France. It's been pretty fruitful over the years, men and women.
Yeah, few good Canadian riders in the last year. I think Derek G, who sort of last season had a fabulous year. Hugo Hull, and actually a lot of them riding for Israel Premier Tech, who've got a Canadian sponsor, so that's a connection. I'd love to get a result of this with the Canadian winner. That'd be popular.
Absolutely. Well, they've got two of their mostly young Canadian national team in here. Not all of them. They do carry a bit of experience with James Pickley, who rides for China Glory. He does retire at the end of this year, so a nice opportunity for him right at the end of his racing career, Pickley, to get a ride with his national team here in Quebec as well. He's a former Israel rider, actually rode for them when they were Israel's start-up nation. James Pickley had a decent long career, but coming towards the end of it, at the end of this year, nice opportunity for him. Welcome back, those of you who've been away on a short break. We are looking across the Saint Laurent River, back in the direction of Quebec, looking southward actually, across the river, where it's a little bit greener. Nice day for sailing, and indicative of how gentle the wind is as well, as we've been saying. Really not much wind to talk about. These are the four riders in the breakaway. If you've just recently joined us, they are on the front. Jonas Walton, the young Canadian, and his teammate Felix Hamel, just behind him. Those two, both 20 years of age. Then Frank Vandenbroek, the Dutchman for DSM Firmenich Post NL in the middle, who's been doing some long, hard turns to keep this one going. They have Artem Schmidt with them, the American rider, who rides for Ineos Grenadiers. He's one of 3 Americans in their team this week, so they've brought their young American contingent with them, and they have been pretty good at bringing in young Americans. I would still include Magnus Sheffield in that hutch, despite the fact that he's now a pretty firm fixture in that Ineos Grenadiers team. They do seem, over the last few years, to have completely shunned the idea of having a development team and just chucked these teenagers straight in there. Another one of them, exact classic example, AJ August, who's 18 years of age still, and yet has done a full World Tour season this year.
I was interested to note, actually, as of next year, they're not letting under-23 riders who are riding with World Tour teams or Pro Conti teams ride the under-23 events of championships, which I thought was a good thing.
That is very difficult. Now, see, I don't know. Oh, my goodness me. I don't know where I stand with that much. I'm not doing this just to add balance either. I feel a bit sorry for them, because I personally, that's big. So let me get this right. Your argument there, or that argument anyway, is seeing under 23s as still being like what it used to be, the pros and the amateurs, right? If you race pro, you shouldn't be racing amateur.
And I think it gives, at the minute there's such an emphasis on young riders. You're talking about whether Ineos have a development team, which they don't, when they keep talking about it, but it seems to happen. But they then kind of go shopping at the top end of the junior ranks. And it means a huge amount of pressure on the last couple of years of junior to try and scout for a World Tour team, or even one of the World Tour development teams like the DSM that feeds straight in. And there's an absence of an opportunity for a rider who matures a year or two later to find a way to put themselves in the shop window, because by the time you're 20 or you're 21, if you're not already hooked up to a World Tour team or a Pro Conti team, that's kind of it.
Amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, football has worked the same way for years, and it's not like football has died. But I think it opens the thing up a little bit.
Just having a look here at the map, showing us where on the course we are. The flatter section, as I've been mentioning, alongside the river, going northeastward and heading back towards the Citadel, ready to take on the final climb again on this lap. Where are we? Lap 6 of 16. In just a moment as well, we're going to preview a little bit the Grand Prix Montreal, the Grand Prix Cycliste de Montreal, I should say, which is on Sunday. It'll be the same team of commentators, by the way, bringing it. So myself and Hutch, Carlton and Smithy as well. We're going to be sharing both of these races with you. Look at the crowd. They're not going anywhere either. They're going to be enjoying their afternoon. And it's once again Frank Vandenbroek who's on the front, winner of this year's Tour of Turkey. Big step up for him this year too. That's the steepest part of that climb done. Vandenbroek slops to the back. Artem Schmidt on the front. And it does look to me like Felix Hamel is just starting to swing a bit. He is. He's letting the wheel go to his own teammate. Unfortunately, he's he might only last another lap by the look of it. That's my anticipation. I think I'm reading that right.
They'll miss him all the same, because it's just, even if he's not the strong rider, he's doing a turn. I mean, I haven't seen him miss a turn. He seems to have come through every time.
Yeah. Is Logan Curry, who's been doing the longest turns on the front Pili there for Lotto Destiny, working for the man in that very smart-looking Belgian road race champion skin suit, Monica Lee, last year's winner, going for 2 in a row. Let's have a look to Sunday, though, shall we? While we're thinking about it getting quite a bit hillier, and it will. Sunday's Grand Prix Cycliste de Montréal run-off last year in pretty damp conditions as well. Quite a lot more climbing on the course, though. 4,554 metres of elevation compared to today's 2,960 as well. Of course, it was Adam Yates who took the win last year for UAE Team Emirates, beating Pavel Sivakov. Once again, Sivakov so often second and third in these big races. Adam Yates, last year's winner. Who will it be this year? And so many people, of course, are talking about it being Tadej Pogačar. Are we really being silly, though, Dr. Michael Hutchinson, when we suggest that Pogačar might win both of these? And if he does do it, how does he win in Quebec today? Montreal is probably a little bit simpler for him. He just roasts everyone. But how does he do this today? Has he got to use that last hill or what?
I think he would go earlier. Kind of just based on what he was saying in the press conference where he was asked about it, he didn't seem enthusiastic about waiting for kind of a sprint, an uphill sprint inside the last kilometre. I think he would want to go earlier. I think he probably also wants a kind of a bit of a form test to actually put everyone else under a bit of pressure. But whether he wants to do that today or whether he prepared to wait to Sunday, I don't know. He might be happy just to sit today's first race back for 52 days. He might be quite happy to sit in the wheels today, get a little bit of a hit out, and wait to Sunday for a big effort.
Yes, as Hutch has mentioned, first race back for Tadej Pogačar for 52 days, and yet he's taken 21 wins this year, including the Tour de France and the Giro d'Italia as well. And here he is back again, having well, I'm going to have a look at his programme. It's a two-race build-up to the World Championship. So the men's elite road race is in 2 weeks this Sunday. He's riding Quebec, Montreal, heading back to Europe, ready to be going to Zurich, of course, for those Road World Championships. Let's not forget, this is an important prelude out here, isn't it, Hutch, for when the Worlds are going to be here.
In 2 years' time.
2 years' time, that's right.
They're going to have both of these races and the Worlds all in the space of about 3.5 weeks. In Montreal is the Worlds, so the chances are, I mean, they haven't announced the course yet, but it's very unlikely that it's going to be terribly different from the course we're using on Sunday. So there'll be, and Pogačar has already said that this year's Worlds course suits him quite well. Next year's Worlds course suits him quite well. And back here in 2 years' time suits him. Next year is in Kigali in Rwanda, and then back here in 2 years' time suits him quite well as well. And you sort of think, is he kind of eyeing up winning the Worlds 3 times in a row? It does feel a bit like that. In which case, he might let the Grand Prix Quebec go because
well, who knows?
Let somebody else have it.
Exactly. He is the most likely rider, isn't he? I would have said at the moment, Hutch, to complete that kind of almost everything slate of winning almost everything. I mean, he's even hinted, hasn't he, at waiting for the right year to go for Paris-Roubaix, to add that to his Palmares as well. I'm trying to think, what else has he? How about winning the final sprint on the Champs-Élysées in the Tour de France?
Bit of a stretch.
You say that?
I mean, I don't know. I've made myself look very stupid in the past by confidently predicting that Pogačar was not going to win things, and then he does, because he is that good. And it's when these riders come along, you tend to say, well, they can't be that good. And you hear so much hype. You think, well, it can't all be true. And in the case of Tadej Pogacar, it pretty much is. I mean, the only comfort I have is that he got beaten to the Tour de France by Jonas Vingegaard. And the way we talk about him, it's as if he's won everything forever. And that's not actually the case. He's had an amazing year. But, the biggest showdown of the year we didn't get him against Vingegaard at the Tour, really, both in prime shape, because Vingegaard was coming back from a crash. So that's kind of really the only comfort. But this is probably, if he wants to do the Triple Crown, this is a good year. Obviously a good year to do it, because he's already won 2 of them. And it's very easy to say, well, he can do it next year, but it's not even the most straightforward thing on earth to stay upright through 3 races like that. Things happen.
No.
So he's under a certain amount of pressure to do that this year. It'd be fantastic to see. So because 1987 last time it was done.
Yep.
Yep. Then of course the question is, can he do the Quadruple Crown where he does the Vuelta as well? Maybe that's the 2000.
In 1 year.
Maybe that's 2026 project. Do 3 Grand Tours on the world in 1 year.
Well, he's only 25, so if we go by what certainly used to be our yardstick, maybe, I don't know, people used to say, back in the day, we used to say 27 with the average endurance rider's purple pack. What would you say now? You're far better informed over these. He's 25 now. Pogacar?
I think a significant part of it is actually how long people have been racing for, and that's not just a psychological thing. People talk about how you get stale after a while. I don't think that's necessarily it. It's in terms of finding those improvements, because any training, the stimulus starts to blunt eventually. And he has been racing for quite a long time, and racing at the highest level for kind of an entire career. I think, 27, 28, 29 doesn't sound like a bad shout as when you'd expect him to be at his absolute physical best. But he's so much better, so maybe that doesn't apply to him. And the other thing you have to look at is who is he racing? What's the competition? Because you can only, you have to race other riders to win things. So it's also where you are relative to everybody else. It's one of the things that people inevitably throw a little bit at Pogacar is that he hasn't got competition. It's not a very strong peloton at the minute, and I don't think that's true. But it is part of the equation.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his programme beyond the end of the year. He is due to ride the Italian races, finishing, of course, with Il Lombardia, which he's won now 3 times in a row. So he'll be going for 4 in a row this year. Whether he'll do that if he wins the Rainbow Bands, we will see. I suspect he will, because it's always an iconic shot, isn't it, Hutch? The Rainbow Band being worn at what used to be the Tour of Lombardy, Il Lombardia, Race of the Falling Leaves, in the Rainbow Bands. It's an iconic picture of our sport.
It's also kind of his style. I mean, he charges at everything, and he gives at least the impression of having a really good time. He's not one of those sort of slightly dour riders who rides because it gives the impression they're riding because it's their job and they have to do it. He brings a certain joy to the whole experience, and I think Rainbow Bands, I think he'd want to wear those and show them off somewhere, and I think he would love to celebrate winning the World Championships by winning Lombardia with the Rainbow Bands as well. Also an early opportunity to head off the curse of the Rainbow Bands if you could win the final Classic of the year on them.
Poor old Jonas Walton here is having a rough time hanging on. I was incorrect, I don't think, saying it was Hamill. Hamill actually looking a bit better. It's Walton who is struggling a little bit there at the back, and once again it's under the pressure of this man, Frank Van den Broek.
Van den Broek is pressing on the pedals here.
Yeah.
And this is kind of I think this is the long, slightly downhill drag, and he's not hanging about. The gap's 4 minutes 10. It's been hanging around there for the last lap or two now. It's been very, very consistent.
Yeah, and do you know what? I'm not sure. I'm trying to think who else would be their best bet. Sean Flynn was riding Tour of Britain last week. Looked good. We know he's a good sprinter as well, the Scotsman, the man from Edinburgh. But other than them, I'm not sure they've necessarily got a great option for today. Right, we're watching some of the withdrawals already. That's Rodolfo. Yeah.
Retired. Oh, and there's that. Yeah, that's the 2.
Yeah, Logan Phippen, I think. No, Logan Phippen is with him, I think. So that's 2 of the Novo Nordisk riders out.
So I thought Phippen had been the break, he wasn't. Is Stevie Williams the stupidest idea anybody suggested for this race today?
Not at all. Not at all.
Just
not
looking at kind of, because we sort of talked about Israel Premier Tech as having kind of a very strong Canadian contingent. They've also got Corbin Strong, who was second last year. Yep. And Stevie Williams, who just won Tour of Britain, and had a fabulous year, a lot of respect.
Absolutely. No,
And the team has been more or less invisible.
Yeah.
Well done, man.
Yeah, so far. Yeah, I mean, they were very good at Tour of Britain last week. Of course, the stage that Stevie Williams won into Redcar was where he took over the race lead, but he beat Julian Alaphilippe in the sprint after a lumpy, hard, lumpy stage. Now that is pretty good going, because Alaphilippe, I think, watching him last week in Britain, is the best he's been for at least a couple of years, if not 3 years. In fact, I would put Alaphilippe down as a pretty safe bet, good bet, for a third rainbow jersey in Zurich. I really would. I think he's near that. I really do. It's more looking at, it wasn't so much necessarily results from Alaphilippe last week in Britain. It was more the way he's riding. It's that kind of confidence and sort of zip in his form. Seeing it up close, I just thought he looked much more like, he's a confident rider anyway, even when he's not been going well or he's having problems, but it's just something about him last week.
I'm just struggling a little bit to see him beating Pogacar.
All right, there is that. There is. Well, who aren't you thinking? But good call, Hutch, with Stevie Williams. I think he's a very good pick for both today and Montreal on Sunday as well. He is going ridiculously well. For those of you who don't know, he's just won the Tour of Britain, and it completes an incredible year for him as well, really. Whereas I think a couple of seasons ago, we were talking about him as a hitter in the hilly races, but he's now gone on and won Tour Down Under at the beginning of the year, bookended the year by winning the Tour of Britain at the end of the year. Oh, and he's chucked Flesh Wallone in the middle as well. Which,
doesn't feel
not bad, eh?
It doesn't feel completely irrelevant to this race. The hill isn't as steep, it's not kind of as decisive, but it's a long race with a hill at the end.
Yeah.
These things, you can block these races into fairly simple categories.
So Jonas Walton now, for the first time, actually detached from our lead group. And this won't help because, as you said, Hutch, he was still going through. He's also a big, tall guy. So even when he's sitting in the wheels, he's giving the rider behind him, which quite a lot of the time was Felix Hamel, his teammate, pretty big shelter. Because he's, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's the tallest rider in there, along with Artem Schmidt, and a little bit broader as well. Would have been nice shelter behind.
Yeah, he's trying to get back. I mean, initially, to be honest, I assumed he could let it go, but actually, no, he's trying to get back on. He looks like me hanging off the back of a Swift race.
Yeah, not quite as pixelated. He is going to get back on though.
Artem Schmidt, the American Swift racing isn't so bad that they're pixelated.
No, I meant you're so quick. Yes, pixelation can't keep up.
I'm impressed he got back. I'm kind of impressed he got back on.
Yeah.
It's kind of, but he's not going to be there in a lap and a half's time, I wouldn't imagine.
No, I don't think so.
As soon as that starts happening, because it's not even if he's a particularly timid descender or something, he's been there every other lap.
Yeah, and that is despite what Smithy's been telling us about his lineage as well, son of Brian Walton. He's also, obviously, this will pique your interest, Hutch, he's also obviously a decent time trialist as well. He took third at the Chrono des Nations last year, which is, I think that's the under-23 version, isn't it? Yeah, that's the under-23 version. But even so, the best under-23 time trialists tend to rock up there.
Yeah, I noticed that from last year. I always keep an eye out for time trialists because I think that time trialing is still a key skill. It's become more and more specialised in the last decade or so. So it's a little bit less of a form guide than it used to be. But I still, particularly in younger riders, I think kind of the strength and the intelligence you need to ride good time trials often repays kind of classics type events. Because you used to see lots of people like Fabio Cancellara winning classics and using, it's not the same thing, but it's a lot of the same skill set.
What is that? Is that a pacing thing? It sounds.
I think it's strength. It's strength. It's pacing. It's just consistency.
Welcome back, those of you who've been away on a break. Do you know what? A rider I haven't seen on my screen, I certainly haven't commentated on for a while, is Quinn Simmons. And if I'm not mistaken, if I missed something here, has he grown himself the most fantastic handlebar moustache? I'm sure I've just seen that.
To be fair, it sounds like his style, but I must admit I haven't noticed.
we'll keep an eye out for that. It looked like him, and I haven't been covering many races that he's been riding recently.
I applaud as a commentator. I applaud any bike rider who makes themselves look distinctive. So,
obviously,
I do hope so.
Yeah, but Hutch, I have an as yet unpublished but often spoken rule that whatever facial hair configuration a rider starts that season with, they must maintain it for the whole year. None of this, chopping it off, getting rid of it or growing something halfway through the season.
Are they allowed to change it if they win the national championships and change jerseys?
No, they can only
do they
change the colour of it.
do they absolutely have to keep it when that happens? Because that's the only chance you've got of identifying it in the second half.
Yes, just keep it. Just keep that the same. They can only they can change the colour to match their national champions jersey, but not the not the configuration of hair. But we'll keep an eye out for them because it did look special for that. I'm pretty certain it's coincidence. Anyway, onto Marché Wanty, still combining with Loco Destiny as the primary chasers. In fact, onto Marché Wanty got the whole team up there, including Biniam, right in the middle, Biniam, the Eritrean superstar, of course. And now come Bahrain victorious, Matej Mohoric leading through for them. We haven't mentioned him so far. He was fifth in this race last year. But there's an interesting, unusual outsider up as well, Mohoric, who we know can sprint well.
Yeah, I've got an asterisk beside his name on my list as well. Although I've got a lot of asterisks here because I don't want to look stupid. I find more people in the field I can name as a potential winner, the better. But yeah, it's the kind of finish that could suit him perfectly well. I suppose it would suit him well. But I think, is he going to beat De Leon? Is he going to beat Matthews? The positioning of this finish can prove critical in previous editions. So if he gets to the right place at the right time, he's probably got the strength to drive it home. But he hasn't probably got the strength to dig himself out of a problem.
No,
not the best of motor riding there.
No. You think on a multiple lap circuit, you'd be able to figure out which are the best places to overtake. Artem Schmidt is just stretching things out a little bit. Do you know what? I was thinking he'd done a whole season now with Ineos Grenadiers. He hasn't. He's actually in his stagiaire stint now.
I'd say he's a trainee at the minute, isn't he?
Yeah. And so what better way to use your kind of trainee's berth than to do exactly this? Look at it. There's some powerful climbing for you. He's got back in Jonas Walton, and he is absolutely. I can't see the gear he's in. I think he's just mashing it.
I'd like to see him clicking the right button a little bit. But yeah. I mean, I'm just wondering if he's come into it just a little bit overgeared in terms of the setup he's got, because he's trying to pump a big old gear compared to everybody else.
I think he may just be using everything he can to just try and stay in breakaway.
Yeah, this you can't do this lap after lap. Even at this stage in the race, Vandenbroek is going to be dancing up here happily enough, just within himself. And when you get to this point here, he might chase back on this time, but he's probably only got one more chase back on left in him. Depends a little bit how fast they go. Depends who's on the front when he's trying to catch them. If Vandenbroek is on the front when he's trying to catch them, that's probably a very unhappy situation for him.
I bet he gets back on again. It's looking like it already.
He'll get on this time just on the descent. But he's only got so many more chase backs in him. We've seen him chasing back on at least 3 times now, I think. So, yeah.
Logan Curry back on the front again.
Still
Kiwi.
Same teams.
Yeah. We'll watch to see whether he gets back in. Jonas Walton. He rides for the EcoFlow Kronos team, Canadian Continental team. There's a couple of their riders, in fact 3 of their riders ride for that Canadian national team this week, so a nice opportunity for them in a World Tour race. That's pretty special, isn't it? If you think about Jonas Walton example, to get a World Tour berth in amongst, looking around and seeing Tadej Pogacar alongside you, it's a massive moment. It's no wonder you're fired up to then get in the break and make it stick as well.
Yeah, and he's 20 years old. And he's an opportunity. We were talking earlier about the difficulty if you're not a junior and not a World Tour pro, or putting yourself in the shop window. And he's getting an opportunity to do that. That can only be a good thing.
Hey Hutch, we mentioned his time trialing background and his 3rd place in the under-23 Chrono des Nations time trial. he appears to be riding what looked to me like an aero chainring, like a time trialing chainring, kind of filled in, might have even been carbon fibre, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was.
You don't see that often.
No, I think there's kind of this debate about weight and rotating inertia and things like that. I think for somebody like him riding the way he's going to ride, he might as well throw all of the aerodynamics he can at it. Because all of these bike, pretty much everyone's riding a minimum weight bike now. So if you can squeeze an aero advantage out, I don't see why you wouldn't.
Oh, he's dangling again. I tell you what, he's battling well though today. Good luck to him.
One of those things where kind of an older rider might just let them go at this point, but he's obviously determined to make the most of this.
Right, let's grab a word with Tadej Pogačar. This was an interview taken with him just before the start. Let's hear what the man going for the Triple Crown thought.
Excited to be racing today. So the big Tadej Pogačar can still be nervous about racing bike. Yeah, of course, it's dangerous and we want to win, so have you studied the circuit? Yeah, I know the circuit quite well now, and yeah, we'll see. It's still my only second time here, but yeah, we'll give it a shot.
No, he's going to give it a shot. Let's see how the shot goes today. I wonder what there could be said, though, Hutch, for we talk about this and Sunday as being kind of this seemingly perfect, at least perfect kind of technical build-up towards a multi-lap World Championship like we're going to have in Zurich. But is there, I mean, if he ends up going really deep today to try and win both of these races and then comes second or third in Montreal, are we going to be saying, well, if he just backed off a bit on Friday, he'd have won on Sunday? I guess in a way it's a decision only he and his team can make.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the pairing of races it's a bit unusual. It's having them this far apart.
Right, we're under the Flamme Rouge and heading towards the completion of this lap. It is lap 8, isn't it? No, sorry, lap 7.
End of lap 7, I think.
Thank you, Hutch. Yes, end of lap 7. Artem Schmidt increasingly looking like this is his lap, whereas a lap ago it was this guy, Frank Vandenbroek, who was laying on a little bit more, the Dutchman. 5 minutes and 22 now.
Actually, I'm sorry, it is the end of lap 8.
Oh, there we go. And there, for once, my notes were correct, which is a rare thing in itself. Right.
Gap up, so 5:22 we're sitting at now, which is as big as it's been.
Yeah, and appropriately, we're edging towards half distance in this 204-kilometre race. I wonder whether that will punctuate anything in amongst this lot as well, because it is steady hard, very controlled. Notably, the white jerseys of UAE Team Emirates just sort of sitting in that front of the front end of the tadpole's head right there. And waiting. Tadej Pogačar, one of them definitely. Not caught sight of our defending champion, Arnaud de Lee, one of 2 previous winners in this race, of course, along with Michael Matthews, the double winner. Talking of World Championships, by the way, Hutch, if there was any rider in the field, in the modern era of men's professional cycling, that deserves to win Rainbow Bands one day, because he's come so close so many times, it's Bling Matthews, isn't it? I don't think there'd be anyone that would begrudge that. I don't think it's going to happen in Zurich this year. I can't quite see that. But
not too hard.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah. No,
for a guy who's been so close.
I would agree with that. And just think what a fabulously shiny world champion stripy bicycle he would turn up with afterwards.
Yeah.
No, I'd agree with that. I wasn't quite sure where you were going with that. And yeah, but I agree completely. I thought you were going to ask me a very difficult question that I wasn't going to have an answer to. But
well, who's... No, I'm just putting it out there. I'm just thinking about how many times we've seen him. Always, he's a big game performer as well, isn't he? And he seems to always raise his game for World Championships when he pulls on, that Australian national team kit. How many times has he? I'd say how many times. I can just look it up on Pro Cycling, couldn't I? But he's medalled at Worlds a number of times. Right, that is it now.
That's wool from the elastic has finally snapped.
Yeah. He won't be
good brave ride though.
Absolutely. I don't think he'll be finishing this race, as Carlton mentioned as well. If you're lapped in this field, then you're out as well. Do you know what I found myself? The minute he said that, you know what I'm like. The first thing I found myself thinking was, could for Breakaway, go really deep early and lap the whole field. Take it down to just 4 riders left.
Yeah. I think when that happens, some sort of quiet arrangement gets made to just... Where was it? There was somewhere... Where the heck was it? There was somewhere that was kind of going to happen because the break got such a big advantage on the run into a circuit. I can't remember which Worlds it was. And there was kind of a concern that the break had so much distance they were going to have done a whole lap before the bunch got there. So the bunch are going to... I'm afraid I can't remember. It wasn't 2012, was it? But it would be like a scratch. We'd have it like a scratch race on the track. They could just sprint in the bunch.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe Pogacar. Maybe someone should sort of suggested that to Tadej Pogacar today and see if he could do it on the first lap. Sort of thing, actually. Do you know what? It's the sort of thing I could see him having a crack at and just having a laugh about it and seeing whether anyone would let him go by himself from the gun.
Sort of like a 200-kilometre K run.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Anyway, well, it is Antoine Wanty now taking over again. Hutch, we were talking just before we concluded that lap, we're coming now into the middle lap of the race, about the gap between these two World Tour one-day races. They are nearly at the end of the men's one-day World Tour kind of series. It finishes, of course, with the Tour of Guangxi. That's not until the end of October. That's the stage race, sorry. The final one-day race is Il Lombardia, of course, on the 12th of October. So we've got about a month until then. I've always been told, you'll know better than this, the physiology behind this, Hutch, but that when you put in a big effort, when an athlete's put in a big effort, generally on average, it's 2 days later that you feel it, whether it's DOMS, whether it's tiredness or fatigue, whatever, delayed load and all that kind of thing. But is your experience that is normal for most riders, or will there be some who, after a big hit out one day, would kind of rather do Montreal tomorrow?
I think it's quite individual. I think, yeah, you're right. Traditionally, the idea is that the 2 days later, muscle soreness certainly is worse 2 days later. But on the other hand, you're certainly going to have a better glycogen status. You're going to have a chance to eat more, recover more. Your hydration and fueling status will be better by Sunday than it could possibly be by tomorrow, just because there's a limit to how much you can eat and how fast you can absorb it. I mean, these two races, 2 days apart, it's kind of like an odd little stage race because they're both very demanding. They're both harder stage races than you would get as part of a 3 day stage race. But it's like doing a 3 day stage race, but with a rest day in the middle. And I think in some ways, the preparation for the Worlds, if you're coming into it strong and fit, and you really need that, the sort of training you get from doing a stage race, that real kind of going deep, really overreaching, it's probably kind of perfect. And they're even the right way around, because you would want the harder one second. I would be a bit more nervous if you were a kind of a World Championships contender coming into this, maybe off the back of an injury or feeling you maybe didn't absolutely have the form, because it could be very hard to recover from it unless you're absolutely on top of it when you come in.
Yeah. Well, let's see. The interesting pick will be to look at those who've gone deep in this race, whether it's mid-race or at the end, and then who is able to regroup ready for Sunday.
You're keeping your eye out for Jonas Walton, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Considerable kudos to him if he gets in the break now on Sunday as well.
Yeah, that will be interesting to watch for. So teams very much in blocking order. There's our defending champion rolling through as well, Arnold Lee. There's the American road race champion also coming through. Sean Quinn riding for EF Education Easy Post. I had to do a double take. I had to do a double take when I saw, of course, that Alberto Bettiol is now riding for Astana, Kazakhstan. It's not often that we see mid-season changes of that level and that level of rider too.
No, that kind of surprised me slightly. But yeah, good. A bit of an outside bet for today, do you think?
No, absolutely. I think, as Carlton mentioned, he's one of those guys who's either hot or
he's on or he's off. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. If he's on it, big pick for today. Yeah, I have to say, with Bettiol, and I was lucky enough to call his national champs win in those Italian road race champs back in the middle of summer. And it was a brilliant ride by him as well. But he's extremely multifaceted rider. Of course he would be, being a former winner of the Tour of Flanders. He's just gone through shot there. But it is to me, an odd move, because he's exactly the kind of rider who I think, if you could pick any team that's suited to him, he seems to be quite, how do I say that? Quite an individualistic guy. He's got his own way of riding, doesn't necessarily need to lean on a team either. And I'd have thought EF seems to be the right kind of fit for him. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes. I understand. EF sort of is a distinctive team with a kind of a slightly different flavour to it. And I agree, he seemed a good fit there. I mean, one of the problems Astana have is they're already looking down the barrel of relegation at the end of next season, because they are currently scraping around. They're already scraping around for points. And I think maybe their logic is that, they bring in somebody like Alberto Betio and maybe he can go and snipe points without necessarily needing a whole structure around them. Because obviously Astana built themselves around Mark Cavendish this year. And they got a considerable return from that. But along the way, they haven't got as many other points in other races as they need to.
Yeah. Right, let's deal with points, shall we, while we look at our three breakaway riders. Felix Hamel, Frank Vandenbroek and Artem Schmidt down by the river on the flat, ripping along at the moment, going northeastward before they start the climb back up to the finish again. I haven't really, I'm glad to say, actually, I haven't really mentioned the promotion, relegation and points thing for about a year or so now, but we are coming into, it'll happen at the end of next season.
So this is the middle year. We're 2/3 of the way, nearly 2/3 of the way through the period.
By the way, just before we do that, that's probably one of my biggest picks for the day. He seems to be rolling off the back. What's he doing? This is Axel Zingley. Now, Axel Zingley, if there was ever a World Tour race that suited to him winning it, the Frenchman, there he is in the colours of confidence. But what on earth is he doing mincing around at the back? He's my pick, Hutch. Zingley, I think it's...
I'm very sorry about that. I'm very sorry. In that case, I hope you haven't got too much money riding on him.
No, I don't. Like you, I don't think I place any money on these things. But we're also watching, I think, Michael Mercu as well, just off the back there. Now, we'll come back to the points thing in a minute, but Mercu, I'd have thought, might have been looking after... I don't know. Is this hard finish too hard for Case Boll? Because if we're looking at sprinters, Case Boll is right up there amongst the best of them, you'd say on paper, the sprinters in this field. But
yes, it's just, it's the problem you always have. You think, well, that's fine. He's a decent sprinter. He should be up there. But is he really going to get in front of all the people who are on paper faster than him? Is he going to be part of the league? I don't think so. Not unless his positioning is phenomenal.
I remember Case Boll winning a stage of the Alula Tour in an uphill finish. He can do it. Welcome back, those of you who've been away on a breakaway. I'm a little bit nervous because although I don't ever place any money, I just don't even know how to bet. I have to admit, it's not a kind of a stand I've taken or anything. I just don't know.
They have advertisements on television for online.
Yes, I've seen them.
Just saying.
Yeah, I've seen them. Now look, I've mentioned it before, and I have to say this isn't something I like to see. I'm not saying that Artem Schmidt is littered, but the old sticking the gel wrapper under your saddle like that, I don't like it because I can't believe it's going to stay there the whole time.
I suspect quite a lot of riders put it there and kind of hope it falls off.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's plausible deniability, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm going to call it out. I don't like it much because we have green zones in these races. They know where they're supposed to be dropped. It's only a thin little piece of foil or wrapper. Just put it back in your back pocket,
Maybe he tried to get into his back pocket 3 or 4 times. He could, the way sometimes you pin the number through both sides and things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I can't agree with you. I was going to say, Visma are having a nice, relaxed bicycle race, haven't they?
They are. And well, there's their man, Matteo Jorgensen.
Yeah.
Jorgensen with a J, with a hard J. Oh, actually, he's riding alongside my boy there as well. So 2 potential big favourites for this race, maybe doing the right thing, staying out of trouble. They can float around a little bit.
What I always think of is the Steve Cummings manoeuvre.
Yeah, yes. Well, I tell you what, I don't know if you were watching the Tour of Britain last week, Hutch, but we've got a rider that was riding the Tour of Britain. I've watched him a fair bit this year, Baptiste Vierstroffer, who rides, a young Frenchman, rides for Decathlon, Agile Mondial. And I tell you what, he is like the Steve Cummings deluxe. He's a big beast of a guy, real. But what I mean is, he basically rides, and I don't think, and this is not me, the guy is obviously an absolute machine. He rides 15 metres off the back of the peloton all day and then only moves up to go off the front. So he rolls up the outside and goes off the front. And every day he was either off the front in early breakaways. He was in a couple of long breakaways as well, via Strother. But when he's in the peloton, he's not. He's 15 metres off the back, just holding the same watts. Amazing. The guy's an absolute machine.
Yeah, I've known people who ride like that because they're very, very nervous in the bunch, and that's kind of the beginning and end of it. They want to be off the front or off the back. Where they don't want to be is scrapping in the middle. And I think to some extent, I think that was Steve Cummins' approach to it. He knew what his big days were. On the days that weren't big days, he kind of took it. It's a dangerous thing to do. We always talk about, you don't want to be at the back, you get caught up in all the crashes. But I think there's also an extent to which, if you are right at the back, you nearly go out the far side of the danger zone. Where you don't want to be is in the middle.
Yeah. You've got at the back. You've got time to change down, haven't you? As you see the crash happening, change down through the gears. I mean, that's one of the
and the bunch is always thinner back there as well, so you've got more space to take avoiding action. There are fewer people in that bracket in front of you where you're in danger. But it's no director sportif in the world has ever got on the radio and said, "Hey guys, just relax at the back." It doesn't happen.
No. And on a course like this as well, where you can't, even though this race is 204 kilometres, you kind of can't help but get into criterium mode as well. And as we know, in criteriums, the only instructions any sports director ever gives is move up. Oh, and if you didn't hear that, move up.
Eat, move up, eat, move up, eat, move up.
Yeah.
I mean, being a director sportif is fairly straightforward, really.
Yeah.
Particularly here, we're not really having to drive the car in the terrifying caravan.
No. Actually, do you know what? I was looking down the list of sports directors for this race, Hutch, and it's amazing how quickly things move on. You know, guys, I thought they were still racing. But of course, then you remember they've been retired 3 or 4 years already. Arkea B&B, classic example, Laurent Pichon, who retired, I think, last year, the Frenchman. EF Education, Easy Post, TJ Van Garderen. It can't be that long since he retired, but it is. It's been a fair while now.
Ian Stannard.
Ian Stannard, looking after Ineos Grenadiers, of course. Davide Bramati looking after Soudal Quickstep. Of course, most of them will have. In fact, actually, in these races, they might only have the one DS because they do travel with a smaller team, don't they? Hutch, to these.
Well, there's a smaller team, and there's not. You know, they don't need 2 cars at this event. Do they need any cars at all? I mean, there must be some service. We haven't seen any. We've seen absolutely no pictures of. Oh, we saw Julian Alaphilippe sitting behind a car chasing back on. So there is a convoy. But there's only going to be 1 car per team in the convoy. So you obviously need fewer personnel.
Well, here's another of Astana's options. I'm not sure what's gone on with Astana today. We've seen Michael Murku off the back. This is Max Kanter, who's been in good form this season. He was incredibly good form at his national tour, actually, at the Deutschland Tour in Germany, where he was extremely close to the win. Apologies for losing the picture, but it gives us a wonderful opportunity to skirt over this island. Look at that, absolutely stunning. I'm always on the lookout, Hutch, for new paddleboarding locations.
Oh, are you one of those people? Oh, no.
Big time. Absolutely. I just don't get enough. It's a bit like paddleboarding and fishing are my 2 most favourite pastimes that I never do. I've got all the gear. I've got a lovely paddleboard. I just don't often get a chance to do it. But unfortunately...
Ben Healy chilling at the back.
Yes, all the big boys are chilling at the back. Healy with the
more of a man for Sunday, maybe. But...
Yes. I mean, very good pick for Sunday. Yeah. There he is. He's always the first to adopt the aero gains, Hutch, as you'll know, but he's gone for the radio down the front of the skin suit as well. I mean, that's full time trialing setup and the long socks.
I admire the long. I was going to say I admire his long socks with his radio down the front and his aero helmet. I like his style. Yeah. Even if what he's using it for at the minute is sort of linger around the back of the bunch.
Have we just forgotten about the socks rule? Is it gone now?
I was commentating on the Euro time trial yesterday and the day before, and I must admit my feeling now was we'd forgotten about the socks rule here. Maybe they didn't bring their special measuring pantograph thingy.
Just to conclude that conversation on sock length, we've talked about promotion relegation, we're talking about sock length. It's like any conversation we might have had 3 years ago. We parked it and now we're coming back to it, this long broadcast, but rightly so. No, I've got the feeling, Hutch, what it is too many riders have argued that actually the belly of their calf muscle is higher much higher than in an average person. And then the poor old UCI dude with the stock measuring stick goes, oh, that's outside I'm not sure. Right. Okay.
Oh yeah, but it's measured between the 2 points on the 2 skeletal points. I forget what they're called, but they've got a special, like it's like an Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah.
And you put one end of the Etch-a-Sketch on the ankle bone and the other end of the Etch-a-Sketch at that bit that sticks out just behind your knee, and the sock isn't allowed to be above the point in the middle of the kind of the W of the Etch-a-Sketch thing. I hope this would be a dreadful way to describe anything if you don't know what an Etch-a-Sketch is. But it's not got to do with where the thick part of your calf is. Plenty of riders who can't keep their socks up if the middle point is just in the wrong point on their calf.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
As the father of 2 children under the age of 10, I can say anyone that's seen Toy Story will know what Etch is. Etch is one of the characters in it.
Oh, okay.
Etch-a-Sketch.
Don't have children. I'm not up with popular culture at all. We never actually really got back to the promotion relegation conversation.
No, we didn't. That was my fault. I apologise. I'll tell you what, let's just quickly touch on it now before this lap ends, because I'm going to give them a plug. They've done such a good job now for 4 years of covering it. They update it on a weekly basis. It's innerring.com, INRNG.com. They have got a page on their website which is just dedicated entirely to this. Really nice, clear graphic.
And it shows, I have open right now.
You've got to have you.
Yep,
there you go.
Well,
I'll point people in that direction. I've no connection with the website, but it's a really nice way of staying up to date.
The points thing explains a lot of what's going on that's not obvious.
Yes. Break it down for us.
Well, at the minute, UAE Team Emirates are top-ranked team in the World Tour at the minute. They have 31,000 points. At the other end of the scale, Astana have the fewest points in the World Tour. They only have 8,000, just over 8. Astana have 5,475. The cut-off point at the minute to make the World Tour at the end of next year, is currently at the spot is occupied by Cofidis, who've got 6,251 points. So Astana are quite a long way into the relegation zone at the minute, as are Arkea B&B. And Uno X aren't great either, but Uno X are looking for promotion, not worried about relegation. But Astana really have a problem with that because they're quite a long way off sort of the back of the rest of the World Tour teams, and it's not obvious where those points are going to come from, and it's one of the things they will have started thinking about already at the end of this year, is where those points are going to come from to stay on the World Tour into 2026.
Well, there's a big opportunity for big points to be scored both today and on Sunday here in Quebec and in Montreal on Sunday. Well, that concludes our 4-lap stint. Hutch will be back on again in 4 laps time to take this race to its conclusion. But this is my opportunity to hand you back over to Carlton Kirby and Brian Smith.
Well, before you go
ahead.
Etch-a-Sketch. I had one of those things. The only thing I ever did was try and get up the sort of maze pattern that you could lay over the top of it. It was a challenging thing. And then, do you remember stylophone? You don't.
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
I had a stylophone, Carl.
Did you have the white one, which was the treble, the black one, which was the mid-range, or indeed the basso?
I had a white stylophone.
Yeah, mine was white.
I and my stylophone were very popular.
One of the most annoying instruments ever. You could get an amp for it as well, I seem to remember. My brother got one, and I just thought, no. It's not going to be me. Anyway, thanks for the thanks to the retro toys.
Absolutely.
We'll see you again a little bit later, fellas.
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra. Welcome back, everybody. I welcome myself back. We will be hearing more from Jess and the good doctor, who will carry you home today from 50 laps out. Very convenient. 200 laps to be divided into 4, so yeah, we could just about manage to keep handling that. Well, we're waiting for Brian, but I've still got Dr. Hutch with me, I believe.
I'm still here.
Oh, good lad. Oh, Brian's just popped up. But so I'll just give you a quick cuddle and say ta-ra, and we'll see you later.
See you soon.
And welcome to Brian. 100 laps dead to go, and it looks like a few legs are probably feeling pretty much the same way, Brian. It's this battle of attrition that we spoke of. It's now being writ large upon our screens by those who would try and get in the break. It's thinning down big time. It's the who we suspected to be up front remain there.
Yeah, we're over halfway now. 16 laps, 8 laps to go. So really impressed with this breakaway. I think I mentioned it just before that the interest for me is Frank van der Broek going here. I didn't know a lot about Artem Smit. Just signed a contract with the Innis Grenadiers at the end of August, of course. As everybody knows, no stagiaires, no trainees are allowed to ride World Tour races. So sign a contract for the rest of the year plus the next 2 years. And I can see why, such a strong rider, but it was just interesting why Innis and DSM put a rider in the breakaway, and it's clear to me why. They're trying to make this race as hard as possible. The average speed is still 42 kilometres an hour, and you can see that they're racing at the front. We've already, normally most of the riders that get in the breakaway, including the Canadians, Novo Nordisk, they get over halfway, they pick up King of the Mountains points, but not today. A couple of teams have decided that they want to kind of put the pressure on the peloton, and the pressure is on the peloton. Here's an interesting one here, Carlton. I'm seeing a few yellow numbers in this race. Do you know why?
Go on.
You don't know why? I've got one up on you. Former winners. I think it's a nice touch. Former winners of this race have been given a yellow number to wear. So I think nice touch, and easier to spot for the spectators, because okay, they're going round 16 laps of this course, but yellow number on kind of stands out a little bit, and a little bit easier for the spectators to see you. So yeah, former winners getting the tip of the heads, tip of the hats, and getting that yellow number. But yeah, it's the same two riders. Logan Curry, the Kiwi from Lotto Destiny, are on the front, Intermarché as well, but I still think the boys in white, very tentative, looking after, wrapping Pogacar in cotton wool. And I think this is really kind of suiting him. As everybody knows that, he's here, preparation for the World Championships. World Championships actually come here in 2026 into Montreal. It'll be interesting to see if they use the same course on Sunday for the World Championships in 2026. But yeah, wrapping Pogacar in cotton wool, and I really do think that potentially, he's looking at winning here. I don't think it will be from 80 kilometres out. I even don't think it'll be 40, 20 or anything out, because I think if he really wants to win this race, he has to wait to the finish, do something like Kosnefar, do a very, very late, full-out, stinging attack all the way up to the finishing line from the port side.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the Maritime here. I was thinking to myself, Brian, why a yellow number? Why not a red number for the Canadian flag? And then I thought to myself, do you the flags of the ocean? If you remember, well, you won't remember, but Victory, Nelson's ship, every man, England expects every man to do his duty, spelt out in flags, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going with this one.
Good.
I'll let you have it.
The Quebec signal flag, the signal for Quebec, is just yellow. It's a yellow flag. There you go. So, yeah. That's why they've chosen it, because yellow is for Quebec. Yeah, who'd have thought?
Oh, so you're adding something more interesting on top of my interesting observation.
Yes, I'm trying to out-interest you.
Okay.
But yes, the code signal flag for a Q, so Quebec, if you wanted to say it, like hotel in India, Foxtrot, all that kind of stuff. The code cell for Q, which is Quebec, if you're on the radio, is just a plain yellow flag. There you go. So Quebec, that's why they're giving it a yellow number. I thank you. Don't write it. 96 kilometres to go. Yeah, just plain yellow flag. That's what it means, Quebec. Anyway, all cute.
It will help you.
Yes, I know. Well, I'm just going to keep going so I can hear the applause. 4 minutes and 47. Brian, those have been given the task of chasing this down. It's kind of a bit thankless, really. I see this so often in the peloton. You find somebody, whether it's Tim de Klerk, the tractor, or whoever, they have the duty And it's kind of one against the break, isn't it? It's a wear-down situation, but I'm actually looking at the back here as well and finding riders that, quite frankly, are they looking uncomfortable, or are they just sailing it through at the moment and just doing what Louis Meintjes does, just meerkatting at the back and then just waiting to come forward later?
Yeah, I think plain sailing at the back. I don't think there's any kind of real panic. The bunch does tend to stretch out as soon as we come down to the port side because of the descent down to this part, and then it comes all back together. I've noticed that the Spanish champion Aramburu is towards the back, and he has been from the start. He's another kind of outsider for this race, the Spanish champion. So yeah, no real dangers in this race. The only impressive part is the breakaway keeping up an average of 42 kilometres an hour. Started with 6 riders, now down to only 3 riders left, and really putting the pressure on. But it's the same 2 riders from Intermarché and Lotto Destiny. I'm so glad that Logan Curry, the Lotto Destiny rider, he rode for a Kiwi team that went kind of bust last year, didn't have the finance to keep that going, found himself with a contract with Lotto Destiny, and you know, he's a good, strong young rider still.
Welcome back. We're just over the halfway mark, cycling here in Quebec. 201.6 kilometres, the total distance, with an altitude gain of 2,416. Yeah. So lumpy as you like. I'm just starting to have a bit of an attrition rate to my mind. It's starting to stretch out ever so slightly. This is where the sort of, if there are 4 phases to any race, so one is the establishment of the order, a second is kind of your build up to that comfort zone, isn't it? Then you've got your cruise, and then of course you've got your race for home. Well, if this is the cruise, quite frankly, the cruise ships here, keeping it maritime. Yeah, it's actually a difficult one, and that is because of the pace that's been invoked not only by the break but by the chase as well, and it's absolutely relentless today. So what is happening to us is that we're looking at an average speed for this day so far of 42 kilometers per hour. Now that is to the very high end of predictions here. And because it speeds up late on, I think we're going to get one of the fastest ever editions, because at this point, Ryan, we should actually just be ambling around about 39.40, and there's just no let-up.
Yeah, and that's what I'm expecting as well, right from the start. The interesting fact was Ineos and DSM putting a rider up there, and I thought when the 4 riders, 2 riders from Novo Nordisk, 2 from Canada, went off the front, that was it. But they were joined by 2 strong riders, and putting the pressure on the race. Although looking at some of these riders, it doesn't look as if there's much pressure on, but the average speed is up a tad under 3,000 meters of vertical gain in this race today. But adding into this speed, Carlton is going to be a fast, if not the fastest edition of this race, but is starting to lean towards more of the kind of punchier riders, the more kind of attacking riders rather than sprinters. I think some of the kind of fast guys in here will find this a little bit difficult come the final lap if this pace stays up, and I can't see it not.
Neither can I. Jonas Walton, who was in the break earlier on, Felix Hemmel, his teammate, is still here. There he is, wearing the Canadian flag. Such a great flag, isn't it? And sharing it with Frank van den Broek and Artem Schmidt. Now, Artem Schmidt, under 23 time trial champion of the United States. And I think that was really what badged him up as somebody that you just have to make sure that you keep an eye on. It's this year. He was already on people's radar, but he was with Hagen's Berman Jacob. And that expired only, I think, in August, so only a couple of weeks ago. In his credit said, excuse me, young chap, nice time trial. Would you like to come and join us? And he said, absolutely. I don't know which part of the United States he's from, actually, so not that it would matter with my smorgasbord of American accents. Probably one off the back end, but anyway, I don't think it's New York. That's about as good as I get. I thought somebody painted a pair of trousers on the floor there, but it's actually an asphalt repair. Anyway, here's your climb to home, as you will. So this is just our latest test before we get there. And it's really quite a sterling one. 11.8 the average for the take average over 500 meters normally, but over that sort of tightish section, but there's some real switchback areas where you're going to be hitting 13%, and it's starting to bite a few. Not old Tufty Head himself, Tufty Squirrel. He may well become the flying squirrel later on, Taddy Pocaccia, as he sets sail. There's a few others that are thinking now about coming to join the fray. Quickstep, Sudar Quickstep are up here. Bahrain Victorious as well. I'm wondering what Matej Mohoric is going to do. They've got Nico Arls. Peo Bilbao in days of old, it would have been absolutely glorious for him. Possibly would have liked a bit more downhill, let's put it that way. But Butrago, Barati, Govetska and Zambanini, it's a quality outfit. And we haven't really seen enough, I don't think, of Bahrain Victorious. Love seeing them. Love seeing this man in action. And the roar he got when he signed on today was really quite outstanding. But he's kind of off the back. I'm just wondering whether he thinks this is not for him, Brian. I've seen him hovering around here. I don't know whether he needed a bike change and then's got his bike back, but normally he's... thank you very much. Now we know. I was going to say, normally he's quite an open book with the cameras. And so it seems, Brian.
Indeed. On a circle like this, there's not that many opportunities to... And I'll phrase that phrase that Alaphilippe just used there, is to go for a natural break.
Yeah.
And most of them you can see using the kind of harbour side, where there's less people here. And the reason why there's less people here is because of the speed that they're travelling down this main road at. So they're having the opportunity, some of them stopping, some of them just bowling along, but having that kind of natural break. It's purely because the rest of the course is full of spectators. But yeah, I think Alaphilippe will be there. He'll be in with a shout in the last kind of couple of laps. I don't think he's got the same form as he had when he won the World Championships. I don't think going to the World Championships he's got kind of any chance of winning that for the third time. I think maybe a kind of top 10 would be at best, but in this race, let's see what he can do. The fact that he's taking the time, we're concentrating. He had a mechanical earlier on today. He's there. He's happy. Tour of Britain form wasn't brilliant, but at least he was kind of building, and I think he'll be a little bit better in these races. You've got to add into the factor that they've only come over from the Tour of Britain. There'll be a bit of jet lag, but I think he is still motivated off to a new team next year. So I think Alaphilippe will be in at the death of this race. Not too sure he's capable of winning it though.
Let's see. I mean, in the old days, he always had a real chance of beating some of the heavier people in the sprint. And I guess that's pretty much like Pogacar does today. But yeah, I mean, he's lost some speed, as you well know. But has he lost his mojo? That's the point, because he can find that at any point. The Hotel du Parlement, so kind of like the Hotel de Ville, as was once said by one of our cycling team many years ago. Who will remain unnamed, but he's got the same surname as Ryan Smith, bless him, now no longer with us. Welcome to the Hotel de Ville, one of the finest hotels in all the world. Was, of course, the town hall, and we miss it. 5 minutes. It could happen to anybody. From 5 minutes is the gap, and come back down past the floating palaces here, which are recently banned from Venice, but are clearly welcome here. Hello. I do love a bit of Captain America shush, Brian.
Yes, so they are. Sean Quinn, winner this year. I think Nelson Powless was up there.
He was talking at the back a moment ago.
Yeah, they were. I think strength in numbers kind of helped in the national championships, but I'm glad that they do have a national championship kit, the Stars and Stripes, Captain America, unlike hidden national champions. But just to answer your question, you said where in America that young Schmidt is from. It's coming in Georgia.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, I can't do a Georgian accent, but I'm sure Brian will help us out a little bit later on once he's finished his bluegrass rendition. Yeah, Julian Alaphilippe. How lovely would it be if he got back to functioning as he always used to? Then again, you say that about everybody. You say it about Brian Smith as well.
Oh, I'll never be back. That's a guarantee.
Twice a national champion, I'll remind everybody. Anyway, fancy some goodies? Yes, please, says Van den Broek. No service from cars on the course because it's just too tight. They'd just be in the way, quite frankly. But there is a very good pit stop area here. It's also the one with some makeshift showers. And, you know, comfy seat while you regather yourself, then head off to the hotel. Hotel's directly opposite, actually. But yeah, they just getting themselves the sustenance they need. Warmer than expected for many of you. As soon as you think of Canada, you start thinking ice hockey and snowdrifts. Well, this is very much summertime here. When winter comes, it usually comes with a snap, and it really is quite significant very, very quickly. And very quickly, you can find yourself on the tail end of proceedings, I'm afraid. This is Jonas Walton. I think he possibly spent quite a bit while he was in the break. This is a man who's tired, Brian. He's done a good job.
He has. Very impressed with him. Strong lad, bright future ahead of him. If his dad's anything to go by, dad a former, I think it was 96, the Olympics in Atlanta that I was at with Brian, and I think he got a silver medal on the track. But this young lad has done well. A couple of years ago, he broke the US junior hour records, taking it over 50 kilometers an hour. So he's got good genes in him, and we've already seen a strong performance today. It's just to ride this, from a continental team to ride at this level, average for the first 9 laps here, averaging over 42 kilometers an hour, when I don't think any of the kind of continental races, unless they're on the Pan Flats, but they don't average that high. You know, a lot of these World Tour races are averaging quite high, and they get used to riding like that. And so when you make a big step up and you're averaging races at 38 to 40, and now over halfway through this race you're averaging 42, it does take its toll. And, you know, say it again, Artem Schmidt and Frank Vandenbroek, they aren't hanging about.
They're not. They're really not. Oladili calling for pace. Quite clearly he's comfortable with the way it's being ridden at the moment. Just a quick look there at Aramburu, Brian's favourite drink. Yeah, it looks like the captain, I would say, of the ship. But Ivan Garcia, don't discount him either. Let's wait and see. Let's see how it pans out for them, shall we? Another spectacular view here. This is that shelf that we're kind of playing with. Almost like an escarpment, isn't it? But it creates this.
Oh, it's not Niagara Falls, is it?
Well, it's La Chute de Montmorency, to be honest. But anyway, French first obviously just stepped in a moment ago. Yeah, just back to Aramburu. I always see these and I think, gosh, you couldn't stand under that because you'd get battered, as Brian would say. But you could stand close on a hot day. And we've got a moderately warm one today, about 22 Celsius. Gosh, some of that looks like it's carrying a bit of silt.
You don't want to stand too close in the winter, because I've got...
Oh, you know what?
Friends.
This freezes and it looks amazing.
Yeah, well, I've got friends and family in the Toronto area of Canada, and I was over there a few New Years ago, and all of us got very close to Niagara Falls, and of course the spray up our hair froze. It was that cold.
Yours hasn't melted yet, mate.
I know, that's what I mean. It hasn't melted since that day. Still stayed the same.
One of the Arkea B&B hotels riders just over the other side of the road. Clement Venturini is there. I beg your pardon?
Yeah, it must be an important one, because someone else stopped, so it would be a protected rider.
Yeah, Venturini is their hope for today, actually, and quite a good one. Arkea, you know, they can punch above their weight on occasion. Rather rather strange, their livery in the welter recently. They had to go for yellow because their regular kit, which is of course red, too close to the leader's jersey. Venturini is their lead man. Suits the sprint, but probably a bit outmatched, I would have said, in the company that's here. But then again, you just never know. They've had success in the past with Matti Louvel, but let's see. Ewan Castillo is probably not explosive enough for them, so that's why they've gone back for Venturini. Doesn't want to miss out, and why not? Looks like there's a spread here. It's because everyone's taking on their sustenance, but as to get more and more frequent, the hotter we get into the afternoon here. Shadows started long, and they're still in that vogue. And look at this. Everyone wants drinks, Brian, and they want them now.
It's a danger, Carlton.
It is.
It's a danger. If you looked at it, it was very difficult to see from that shot, but Tim Wellens just got a bottle there, and to his left-hand side, he just offered it to Pogacar. Pogacar will not get involved with the feed station because there's always dangers there. So when you've got a protected leader in the race, such as Tadej Pogacar, you get your teammates get the bottles because there's a lot of kind of movement and some debris on the ground. So you keep out of trouble, keep safe, and let your teammates get the bottle and give it to you, and that's what's happening.
Trying to throw away an empty polythene bag is very difficult, as you've just seen. I remember one of my mates on a camping trip got really angry, and he just with exactly that. You know, it was like he was eating something sticky, and he just could not let go of this bit of plastic. Anyway, that's just my mind. Yeah, Bar and Victoria's up towards the front. Now, they are, of course, looking after Zambonini. I think they're probably their best choice. But Matej Mohoric, Slovenian, fifth last year. And, you know, he's got a bit of a kick on him. You also know that he quite likes descents. Probably not enough descending for him, to be honest. But nonetheless, let's see. And, I mean, our litmus test recently has been things like Poland, the Renui Tour, and various others. Pello Bilbao has had a huge sort of loss of form. I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier on today, and I'm a bit sad really, because I always loved watching out for Pello Bilbao. I'll tell you who else is here is Johnny Zagiri. I don't think this is his kind of course, possibly Montreal, but there's a lot of riders who've dropped out of the Vuelta, Brian, and they must be carrying some fatigue.
Yeah, and especially at the end of the season as well.
Do you think it's a ride back in for them, kind of thing?
Depends what the goals are and what they're doing for next year. Some have already been contracted with other teams, and you know, what is the motivation? You know, what do you want to get out for the rest of the year if you've already kind of hit your goals? So, I think with Bilbao, yeah, I was doing the Tour of Britain last week, and it took until the last stage for him to pop into the breakaway and kind of show himself. I thought he would be a kind of outsider, and he was very, very quiet. Like you, go through that team. Matej Mohoric, he is always a danger. He'll always look for opportunities. Zambonini was very good at the Tour of Britain last week. Govicar won the final stage. So if it comes to a sprint, but I just think the way that the race is going at the moment, just holding still 5 minutes, that it came down to about 4:46 or somewhere near there. Still the same two riders riding on the front, and they're just holding the three riders. But Petrago there, Nicky Sands, Borati, they have got a strong team here, but like most, they're just sitting back and being very, very quiet.
Well, Michael Matthews is, of course, here. Can Bling sing? Well, he's done it twice before here, I must admit. So, yeah, he's kind of your man. We've got the youngest rider here, by the way. He's only 18 years of age. Turns 19 in about 4 weeks' time. And that's Andrew August from Ineos Grenadiers. And he was born in October. It's fine there. Welcome back, those of you who've popped away. We've still got three riders up front, as you can see. But we kind of find ourselves pondering who's going to come good. And indeed, who's been close this year and possibly who's been a little bit unlucky. And I think I've probably got to include Michael Matthews within that. Breakaway Classic recently in 7th place. But yeah, Tour de Suisse had a good run into Regensdorf there, you might remember, was runner-up, was really fed up that he didn't get that. But Milan-San Remo, yeah. Jesper Philipsen takes it. Michael Matthews beating Pogacar, that's Pedersen and the like. I mean, this is quality stuff. Don't discount him, Brian.
You can't. You can never discount him. And I just love the way that when you look back at his career, first and foremost, you know, when you look back at, you know, the World Championships when he won his under-23 down in Australia, and then you look at his career as a kind of sprinter, and he's kind of morphed into a bit more than that.
Certainly has. Michael Matthews chasing his 3rd win. Could he be the first rider to win 3 Grand Prix Cyclistes de Québec? Well, he's done it in the past. Both 2018 and 2019 belong to him. Sponge sprinted 2018, where he came to the good ahead of Greg van Avermaet and Jesper Stuyven. We did it, guys, he said. Then he did it again the next year, proving that back-to-back wins can happen. That's probably what's inspired Arnaud Delis. And in 2019, he beat Sagan and poor old Greg van Avermaet again. Sending it. Kenny, Willie. Well, don't bet against him, Brian. He's had some spectacular results. He just would have liked to take that extra step on a couple of occasions this year.
Well, unfortunately for Michael Matthews, one of his good mates, Tadej Pogacar, is in this race, and it looks as if he wants to win it. You know, they trained together, and I thought it was so nice that Michael Matthews went out to see him in the Giro d'Italia. Good friends, but, you know, enemies when it comes to, or rivals when it comes to, you know, road racing. And I think Michael Matthews, he's got a good chance, but I don't think he'll podium this year. I hope he does, but I don't think he'll podium this year. I think it's last year was a good result for him, but you know, there's so many other riders in this race today that are very capable, and we have some good sprinters here, good finishers, but still the speed of this race, over 42 kilometres an hour, and still with a gap of almost 5 minutes now. This, I think, will be the fastest ever average speed of this race. And, you know, they've been going at it since the 3rd lap by the looks of things.
They have, just homing in here on Bauke Mollema, a man who sounded like he was named underwater. Yes, well, he's here. And there's a few other great names equally at the back. Kind of just, for the time being, getting unstressed by the task ahead. And I've got a feeling that it's going to be somebody today that we really haven't dwelt upon. And I'm just trying to look, I'm looking at the start list here, and it's absolutely rammed with talent. You know that Tadej Pogacar is here. Axel Laurent we haven't really dwelt on for Ups into Koenig. Got a great chance. What about somebody like Ben Healy? I mean, if you want an animator of any day, then he's your man. But a bit like a Jack Russell chasing a ball until its nose bleeds. He's that kind of guy. I don't know how to quantify him, Brian. I mean, to a certain degree, he could possibly be somebody that you'd go, yeah, why not? You know, if he won, you'd think, well, I'm not surprised.
No, I wouldn't be. You know, I love him as a rider, but I think tactically, in the history of this race, nobody's really won this race from distance. It's all happened pretty much.
Happened, but rare, yeah.
Yeah, it's all happened in the last lap, especially from the port up to the finishing line. Everybody knows that. Will it change this year? Possibly not. I hope it might. It'll be a kind of more animated race. I'd love to see Ben Healy go on the penultimate lap, try and mix it up. But, you know, and he's dressed for it as well. By the looks of it, he's all aeroed up. So, definitely it's a chance for him. Does he wait to the final incline? No. Because, you know, there are other people that have got that bigger punch than he has. But like you say, there are a few riders that want to go from distance, but it would have to be the right combination and the right riders to be able to do that, to go all the way to the finishing line. And I think that's always going to be very difficult. If Pogacar's not there and, you know, the likes of Tim Wellens is there, we know he's on form because he won Renew Tour. It's always very difficult. Ayuso as well. So if UAE Team Emirates have got a rider there, it's just going to kind of stop any potential cohesion and any kind of small group at the front. So I'd love to see it happening. I think they will chance it by the sounds of Nelson Powless. They've got a few kind of fast finishers and they've got a few good racers. Only they'll know what the tactics are.
Yeah.
But I think we will see something happening, and I hope Ben Healy tries something on the penultimate lap with, you know, inside 2 laps to go, and I think it may happen because he has got backup. But I just think a team like UAE Team Emirates, they've not even been on the front. They've just been looking after Pogacar, so they'll have some serious firepower come the end.
They will. It's most likely scenario, to my mind anyway, is to be a reduced group, possibly 10, maybe 20 riders. And then on the final climb, somebody goes for it. I mean, you've got to be smart when you launch your attack. Rigoberto Urán did it in 2015, managed to get the better of quite a large group actually at the very end. But it is the very end where this day is going to, of course, really light up. The out process continues. The 2 principals from the breakaway, Artem Schmidt, the big lad here, great time trialist, only a youngster, and Frank van den Broek. It had to be them, Brian, from this breakaway, and so it's proven.
Yeah, and the impressive thing here is Artem Schmidt. He's been riding at a lower level. He's come up to a World Tour race, signed that contract with Ineos till the end of the year for the next 2 years. And he's going to hammer and tongs. I can totally understand why, you know, the 2 Canadians, Felix Hamel, who's just been dropped now, and Jonas Walton has been dropped some time ago. They're riding at continental level, and to even average at this stage 42 kilometres an hour, that's hard going. Their races aren't at that level, so no real surprise that they've dropped behind. But really impressed by Artem Schmidt coming up from that level and going toe-to-toe with Van den Broek. Van den Broek, quality rider. I was questioning whether you got in, you know, why was he getting in the breakaway in the first place? But, you know, they're not bringing, it's 2 against 2 now. They're not bringing them back at all. And, you know, they're hoping they'll tire in front, but they'll tire at the front of the peloton as well. It's been a hard chase for Logan Curry here, the Kiwi, and the Intermarché rider to be able to keep this up. But yeah, this always comes down to the last lap. I hope, you know, the likes of Ben Healy and some of the other riders that we were kind of speculating on try to kind of light it up with a couple of laps to go. But I've covered this race for a few years and it's never succeeded, the early attacks.
It did in the first 2 editions of the race, but since then, the quality of those participating has just continued to magnify. And I think there's just too many wise heads here. There's too many games that people are used to defeating and playing that it might actually be, in a certain sense, kind of self-neutralizing. 2012, Simon Gerrans and Greg Van Avermaet basically took advantage of Peter Sagan's lack of teammates at the very end. Peter Sagan, as I say that, he never used to overly dwell on teammates, but I think he probably maybe shed them a bit too early. He used to burn them out and then do the job himself. Didn't really like lead-outs. Tommy Vogler as well, the man who was always licking at an invisible ice cream whenever he took on any kind of climb. Yeah, he did a very good bit of timing to beat Edvald Boasson-Hagen in 2010. Philippe Gilbert, he got the better of 10 riders in a select group late on. Who else? We mentioned 2012. 2013 was Robert Hessing. Again, maybe surprisingly beat Peter Sagan, but it was amongst others as well, who at the end of the season kind of possibly had picked up too much during the year in terms of fatigue in the successful periods that they've had. And that's the point where this sits. Now that it is a preamble to the World Championships, I think it really, that's the reason we've got so many great riders here. And you are seeing them starting to get very interested. UE Team Emirates have started policing this a little bit more at the front. It's gone to 4 minutes and 52, the gap. Israel Premier Tech also showing their hand just a little bit. Now they've got Derek G, who's going to be a great boost to the Canadian fans if he goes well. It's going to be about Corbin Strong, I'd have thought, but more particular, the longer this goes on, the better I think Stevie Williams is going to be feeling about today, Brian.
I think so. I think after the season that he's had this year with the Tour Down Under, Flesh Wallon, Tour of Britain, you know, he's kind of racking up these wins and he's got good confidence coming into this race. And I'm kind of alluding to more that type of rider than the kind of sprinter come the end. I think it's just the speed of this race. It looks faster, it's harder. As you say, you can go back many years, and it used to be a very small group, but over the last kind of 4, 5, 6 years, it's been a sizable group, and it's come to some sort of kind of sprint or somebody just kind of chipping off in the last lap. That seems to be the kind of mould of this race now. But yeah, definitely more of a quality field. But if this continues, and I think it will, then definitely Stevie Williams is in with a chance. They have got some big options, as I said, right from the start of this. One of their sponsors is here, sponsoring the race. The main man is here. And, you know, there's a lot of pressure on the team to deliver a big result today and one step higher than they did last year.
Indeed. I start looking at time trialists as well. I know we've got one in the break. You know, if you're going to go long, it's about parking your pain on a day such as this. When Sagan won in, was it Philadelphia at the Worlds? That was just amazing, the way he just monstered the field. I mean, obviously that was Peter Sagan, but
Richmond,
that's right, yeah. Absolutely gorgeous course as well. It kind of had a bit of a feel of this in certain ways, but some of it was slightly more testy course, I think. But yeah, he was a quick classics man, and that's kind of what you're dealing with here. If you think sort of Ardennes, then think here. And Honor de Lee fits that bill absolutely perfectly, which I think he starts as race favourite. Corbin Strong probably got bullied just a little bit, but it wasn't the 3-week Grand Tour. You know, he found himself just a little bit second-hand on occasion. He was always third, it seems, behind the likes of Groves and indeed Van Aert. And then, of course, that battle ended with, unfortunately, Van Aert exiting, Groves doing amazing things. But Corbin Strong was precisely as his name. He was very much good on the ramps as well that we had. Stage 14 finished on a ramp, and he was up there. And I think he must believe that he's got a great chance. He was third last year, and that really showed his amazing potential as a puncher. Yeah, let's see. In fact, he was second last year. He was run up, beg your pardon. So, yeah, you know, he is somebody that needs to be considered. And wait for that team to just start showing their hand. Israel Premier Tech already have. They've kind of spread across the road. They're moving up. And you get this, Brian. You see the point of a chase and it's all strung out. When it starts to bunch just a little bit, particularly on the climbs, you see teams that need to keep order, need to keep a handle on what everyone else is doing.
Of course, they want to try and keep some sort of control, but, you know, this is a hard task that the guys in the front have got, and the Breakaway doing well.
A little bit of head movements here, and UE Team Emirates are kind of just mustering their forces. And have we got a few? Is this time called by a couple of riders? Haven't seen just yet.
Yeah, there'll be a few riders pulling into the pits, but this is just a change of bike. So
Yeah,
they've decided to change bikes around. So whether someone has changed a bike or had an issue with a bike, dropped the bike off the previous lap, for it to be, you know, fixed in the pits area, very difficult to do in the team car. So just a little bit kind of swapping around.
One of the beautiful parts here from one of the colleges. There's the Québécois flag, not the maritime flag. That's just plain yellow for the letter Q, and the way you say it, like Alpha, Beta, Charlie. By the way, what are your initials in flag speak, Brian?
Oh, I've not got a clue. One thing I've got in common
Mine's Charlie Kilo, which actually works for me. Just a thought. Anyway,
I'm not going to say my initials. My initials are, yeah, I don't think I can say them.
We got Mike Hotel, of course, with Michael Hutchinson. I'll figure out what Jez Cox is in a few moments' time. Is it Jaffa? Jaffa. Juliet Charlie, thank you, Jez. Brian is
Bravo.
Yeah, Bravo. But what's S?
What's J? Juliet.
Juliet is Juliet, not Jaffa. I've been told.
Bravo, Juliet, Sierra.
Yes. All right, there we are. Oh, gosh.
Something like that.
Yes,
Does that matter anyway?
You
the
are
only thing I've got
Bravo
in common
Sierra. Yeah, but I thought you were more
the same
of a Ford
surname
Escort,
as
man.
Michael Matthews. Anyway, it's a DSM rider that's been riding at the front there is now pulled off. That was Alexei Prost, and it's taken its toll. And that is the rider that was riding at the front with Logan Curry. So something had to break, and it was the Intermarché. So they're now having to expend another rider at the front to try and kind of chase these two riders down.
I can only think that Intermarché are so, I don't know, confident in Biniam girmay, but they've got Bassato who loves a ramp. Just pondering, well, all kinds of things, to be honest. Bravo Sierra is Brian Smith. This all started because those who've won in Quebec have got yellow-backed numbers, and we're thinking surely that belongs to the Tour de France, but no, it's the flag for the letter Q is just plain yellow, and the word, if you want to say the letter Q, is Quebec, and we're racing in Quebec. It's a tenuous, but
it's obvious, isn't it? Very obvious.
If you dig deep enough. Anyway, Charlie Kilo here.
Should have mentioned the yellow number.
Getting himself back in. So 68 kilometers to go, and you can see the pace that they've generated today. It's been quite remarkable. It still remains at 42 kilometers an hour. It's almost like a nocturne, Brian, and there's a prize every lap. They're all staying together.
Yeah, the laps do go around quite quick. The Canadian flag just kind of fluttering in the wind. There is enough wind. It's not a lot, 4 or 5 kilometers an hour. It's a westerly, so they have got a little bit of a tailwind coming down harbour side here, but they are ticking along here very nicely, and soon we'll be heading up towards that finishing line. So it seems to be climb up to the finishing line, go across the top, down the descent, along harbour side, and we're back up again. It's just like kermesse racing with a hill or two.
Yeah, love it. Well, that's the way it feels, except you haven't got a man with a suitcase and a trilby in a smoke-filled cafe. Well, I know that's a long time.
You might have. You might have.
Taking bets on everybody. Sure, look at that. Groovy numbers. And it almost adds to his Belgian champs jersey. He's got yellow numbers here. That is grooving to the max with a yellow bike as well. It is, of course, Arnaud Delis. Now, he's basically called for a lot of pace to be put into today in the chase, and he's kind of been burning down some of his teammates. Logan Curry has been adding spice to the day. Sorry about that. But Intermarché, Wanty have also been showing the duty. So is it Delis versus girmay? Corbin Strong will be in there. Alaphilippe, if indeed he's so minded to leave on a high from Soudal Quickstep. Still got some racing to be done. What about Baggioli? Can he pick himself up? What about Patrick Conrad or somebody, one of the bigger guys today? I think the way this is being ridden, Brian, it's neutralising some of the quick men. They're going to feel like this is not their game, I think, by the end of the day. We're going to have maybe somebody a little lighter, maybe somebody in the shape and form of Tadej Pogačar. Maybe just
I think the opportunist. I think the opportunist more than anything else. It is leaning towards a kind of. We'll look at the Israel Premier Tech team. It's leaning towards a Stevie Williams than a Corbin Strong. That's what the way I'm looking at it, because it's just relentless right from the start. Okay, the breakaway went right on the start line, but the pace has been up, and the sprinters will start to feel it come the last couple of laps.
Just having a listen to James Walt gets a big applause from the crowd opposite, which is really nice. And in fact, listen to just how enthusiastic they are getting here. It's all the fours is the gap, 4 minutes and 44 with 66.4. Gosh, just wish it was 44.4 to go as well. I don't know why. But yeah, this is the main bite of the day, the Côte de Montagne. The rib of the mountain. And why not? Well, these two are doing a great job. And I must admit, I'm very impressed with Artem Schmidt. He's a big lad and he gets up here, Brian.
Yeah, big, very slim, very powerful. And like, I said that I've been very impressed with him when you think, where he's come from, and, he's been snapped up, not snapped up as, he will give you a few months as a stagiaire or a trainee. He's been given a contract, and, he's stepping up to the mark. Not often you get a contract from a team like Ennis Grenadiers and allowed in one of your first races to get in the breakaway. I think it's just comes down to the kind of negativity around the whole team, that they're looking to give the riders as many options as possible, and I hope they can rebuild. I was a couple of British journalists have been in contact with me about how can Ennis Grenadiers get back to where they were before, and I've not get back to them because, to be honest, I'm not interested in giving my opinion about it. But they're a way off where.
Rare for you, Brian.
Yeah, they're a way off where they have to be or where they want to be. You can't turn the clock back, of course.
True.
They can, of course, try and buy Pogačar. But when you consider the riders that they've lost and have gone on to other teams and done rather well, the whole recruitment process, all that sort of stuff, it needs more than maybe a half an hour conversation, because it needs an absolutely complete change of everything. And when I say everything, I'm including riders and management.
Gosh, Brian's gone root and branch, everybody. Yeah. I don't know how popular that would be.
I just fear for the team. I really do feel we need a team like that in Britain. We're really struggling. We had the Tour of Britain there, and that was successful. And I really applaud British cycling putting that on. It must have been very tough with a limited budget, but we have nothing. We have absolutely nothing. Possibly we could be losing Trinity Racing next year because lack of sponsors. Everybody knows in the UK nobody gets paid any wage or any salary to ride, so we've not got many races. We're losing the Rydale Classic next year, so it's just looking very dire for a lot of riders in Britain, and looking to try and get outside of that.
Just watching UNOX Mobility here, and they're absolutely digging in. This will be for Tobias Johannesson. They've got some other options as well out there, and they're a team that I absolutely love watching in action, to be honest, because I'm never quite sure how strongly they're going to show up. It's usually very strong, and indeed it's a carryover from their days in lower divisions where they turn up as invitee teams and quite frankly just boss proceedings, make us talk about them, and that's what's so lovely about them. Let's see, Marcus Holgaards, Freddie De Verne, Adna Holzer as well, and of course the aforementioned Anders Johannesson. But let's see, you'd think that here they might be a little bit stretched, but they're the kind of team that could go long and actually produce something very, very significant today. And we're kind of looking for surprises, and it might well come from that course. So let's wait and see. At the moment, we've got our youngster, all part of the rebuild, for Ineos Grenadiers out front. It's great to see him there, Artem Schmidt, the American. Talking about how difficult life is, I mean, it's the same in many a place. Just check out, by the way, how the mountains classification is going. Frank Bellenbroek has a healthy stock of points here with 8, but they get magnified even further the closer to the line we get. Yeah, I mean, let's remind ourselves that we had a raft of American races as well. So even in a land of plenty, when it comes to sponsorship and sport, cycling sometimes can really suffer. This is a man who's suffering, and that's Corbin Strong. So
not strong today.
No, I'm afraid not. And that looks like a spent force. And I've got to say, I believe that's a hangover from the Welter, Brian.
Quite possibly. That's it. You know, coming over here, the travel, the fatigue, you know, the time change, everything like that. And of course, he was second last year, and he was hoping to come back here. And we've seen a lot of riders kind of sliding back and just sitting in the back of the peloton come the top. But this is Corbin Strong, not strong today. And so, unfortunately, Israel Premier Tech, I think it could be, you know, putting a little bit more pressure on the likes of Derek G and Stevie Williams to deliver something today. And the way the race is being covered at the moment, no surprise that some of the guys that have got a little bit of weakness, some strong guys, I have to say, that are starting to show that kind of weakness.
I'm actually wondering whether this is moving more towards the climbers. You know, we're talking about punchers and strong sprinters. The strong sprinters are suffering. Punchers, yeah, of course, they're still here. The climbers and the TT men may well have something to offer today, but it's thinning down. And when you see Corbin Strong suffering, you know this has been very, very tough. It's absolutely relentless. Yeah, just going back to races that have been and races that are no longer. The United States had some fabulous races. I mean, I personally used to absolutely love them. And even some of the crits, like the Red Hook City crits, they were just off the scale, wonderful entertainment. A lot got hobbled, of course, by COVID, but it's how you bounce back and how you cope with that sort of thing. And to be honest, Canada have just been brilliant when it comes to organising these races, sticking with them, believing in them and going for it. You know, we ask ourselves about races that we've had in the past, California, Utah, the Larry Miller. I mean, amazing races, Brian, that, you know, have had their troubles.
Yeah, it's a shame. I've raced in the States for a couple of years. It's built up to 96 Atlanta Olympics. Yeah,
and more cyclists than anywhere, bro.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. I travelled all over, stayed in a lot of different places, gained a lot of experiences. But
guess what?
He's going long.
You can't keep a good man down. And Ben Healy, well, we said he's like a terrier. I'll try and take the bone off him, for goodness sake. This is magnificent. 62 kilometres to go, and Ben Healy has gone. And if you can't keep up, this might well be the formation of our first incarnation of the groups that matter. You'd better watch men like him, Brian.
Yeah, I just saw earlier on, we're just about to pass, saw a couple of Irish flags outside. It must be an Irish pub. There's an Irish pub everywhere, in every city. And, you know, he's putting on a show. And this is not what the sprinters wanted. No. You know, the likes of Biniam, girmay, Arnaud Delay, they don't want this. And Ben Healy's just lit it up. And I think we're going to see a very different finish to this race today.
Courier was setting the pace of the chase. Now, indeed, called to a halt. But right now, we've got a very, very tasty group starting to form themselves. Is 60 Ks too long to go for it? The problem is, it can be. And back in the pack, they'll be thinking, maybe this is too long. But groups like this have a habit, Brian, of finding success.
Yeah, they do. But it's whether the others work. You can see that the Lotto Destiny here, Intermarché, they're not going to ride. When I was saying about other teams going on the attack and you've got these anchors, that's their job. As well as riding on the front and riding down the breakaway, you have to go with these attacks. And that's where you do your work. So we've seen Logan Curry and Alexei Prost, you know, going riding on the front. But look at who's shutting it down. It's and they've done no work whatsoever today until now, and they're just shutting it down as UAE Team Emirates. So if you're going on the attack, and let's be honest here, Ben Haley goes from distance, and that's his strength, but he's going to have to drag others with him, and the others might not want to work for him. Just look here, Intermarché, Lotto Destiny, nope, and it comes back together. So that's going to continue to happen. You need to keep at it, and if they keep at it, this is going to be a tough race today.
It is. And just look at this, the head of the Viper here with a very, very long tail. And guess what? They're now marking each other out. Christfight decides to have a dig. This is fabulous. It's exactly what we have been looking for. A little bit of a hornet's nest kicked over, and then just absolutely go for it. Kelderman kicks off. Beg your pardon, mixing up my case. Kelderman lighting it up. Now, who is going to chase? Everybody is the question. Healy is at it again. He's got a couple here from UnoX that possibly want to be part of a launch pad. Bike changes if you need it. If you've got a technical, then just hobble back indeed to the pit area. And we kick again. And this time, UAE look like they may well have somebody in the break. Finally, we've got some real spice. Yes, I know Curry was up there chasing down, but this is getting very tasty. Nobody wants to miss it. Red Bull also just throwing somebody up the roads here, and depending on the makeup, and there is somebody from UAE here. So this might actually be an opportunity, and it's neutralized once again. It's UAE self-neutralizing this time by. This is great. If this rocks on, and I think it will for the remainder of today, then I think Jez and Michael have actually drawn the golden ticket here, because this is rock and roll from now on, Brian.
Yeah, we're in for a treat, a good finale. It doesn't normally kind of kick off like this this early. You know, we always hope, but you know, this is very formulaic over the last few years, and it comes down to the last, you know, from the ports up to the finish, you know, the last time it definitely is kicking off. And you have to hand your hat to these two riders. These are the two riders that they kind of instigated the breakaway, got themselves in it, kept the pressure on, and it's fantastic to see. But now we're starting to see the teams of Visma Lisa Bike and Uno X Mobility and EF Education Easy Post not just sitting back and thinking, well, this is supposed to be a sprinter's race. Well, we don't want it to be a sprint. We want to kind of use our options. But the only problem they have got is so many teams with these sprinters are just going to be anchors for anybody trying to attack. But what is clear that, you know, is animating the race. So UAE Team Emirates is just going to close things down. Intermarché and Lotto Destiny are just going to follow and be those anchors. But it is stretching the race, and when the race is stretched, you know, the average speed's over 42 kilometres an hour. We're inside the last 60 kilometres. This is going to hurt the sprinters come the end. So we are going to see probably maybe a different final. Let's hope.
Come on, Frank. Has a look at the board. It says 4 minutes and 15. In the meantime, they've pulled out another 5 seconds. Oh, this is great. Artem Schmidt and Frank Vandenbroek doing a fantastic job up front. Let us wait and see how this one pans out. I've been very impressed by Artem Schmidt, I must admit. Frank Vandenbroek of the pair, I think, has possibly got the edge in. But Artem doing a fabulous job as well. It was he that looked at the board. Meanwhile, back downstairs, guess what? UnoX. And finally, they've said, well, if UnoX want it that bad, they can go up the road, but we don't want Ben Healy going anywhere near it, Brian.
No, you can't. Look, alarm bells go off when Ben Healy goes on the attack. Everybody knows what he's going to do. You know, I just wish sometimes they have that kind of reverse tactic. Just sit at the back and just do it all late and surprise everybody. He's such a strong rider, but I think tactically he has to think what he does. Everybody knows he's going to go long. Just go with them and just, you know, just be that anchor to him. So we've settled down a little bit. Don't think it will settle down for too far, because I think the next time we'll see some other attacks. But I think a lot of the teams with sprinters just making sure that they place the front of the peloton now.
Anders Johansson is up front. I think he was he's looking back for Tobias, to be honest. They got Marcus Holgaard as part of their crew. Likewise, strong, I think you might say. UNOX mobility. 4:22 to our break. I mean, miracles happen, and occasionally you're kind of shocked by what riders produce after being all day in the break and any incarnations of it. I mean, just think what Castrillo did for Equipo Kern Pharma in the Vuelta. Took stage 12 at stage 15, and it's mainly because everyone thought, nah, nothing to worry about. There's lots of things to worry about, and 4:27 is quite a gap to worry about. And these kilometers keep ticking down, and the longer it goes, well, I'm not saying it is going to happen. And there's a lot of firepower back here, but you know what? Engines wear down, and quite frankly, it's been a long season, and the pace that we have taken today at, well, for me, that has been absolutely relentless. Looking at Madouas at the moment, as you can see. Yeah, I'm just double checking on our pace. It's actually gone up, Ryan. Can you believe that? We've got faster.
Yeah, I can believe it. Like I said right from the start, in the old days, the amateur world championships used to get slower and slower towards the end. The pro races get faster and faster, and I did say this, if they're averaging 42 now, it's only going to go up. But interesting, like the Versnes here for UNOX, he's not going to go on his own. You can see him looking. You need a group. I think Ben Healy would love to go on his own, but the likes of Versnes, he knows that he's not going to go across a 4.5 minute gap on his own. Okay, these have been out since the start, lap 1. But they're trying to create that chasing group. It never happened this time. Whether it'll happen the next time or the time after that, but you cannot give up. If your plan is to try and get that group, try and get a rider in that group, of course, he's just going to kind of hang out there. Just looking behind, I think Barry and Victorious in the white kind of jerseys are up there. It wouldn't surprise me if, because of those attacks, UET Emirates are here, potentially, not potentially, they're trying to set up Pogacar. Potentially he's here to do the double. I think there's going to come a stage where they have to take control of this race. If the likes of Ben Healy and others start to attack, they don't want that. They've already kind of placed things with other teams. So it might come a stage where if they continue to attack up this next climb, the UET Emirates says, enough's enough, we're going to try and control things because we reckon we've got the best rider to be able to race this one. But for the moment, anyway, the front of the peloton is Barry and Victorious.
It is Matej Mohoric, we mentioned, Nico Arndt, Peo Bilbao, why not? Butrago, Burati, Govetska, Zambanini. They've got a lot of, indeed, weapons there. Just look who's just hoved up, not messing around. It's Arnaud. Well, the Belgian champion is just shrouded at the moment, masked by UET Emirates, who are going to have to do a job themselves. But Dali has actually burnt quite a few teammates, not least Logan Curry earlier on. Grignard was also working hard. And the crowds get another show, whooping and hollering, as you can hear. Frank Vandenbroek on the nose here for DSM Firmenich post NL. And the bigger man, Artem Schmidt, is a time trialist, just stays absolutely planted. 20 years of age. And look at him. It's absolutely motoring, which is why Innis Grenadier says, hello, fella. How about a contract? We'll start with us now, just after your summer break. Go get yourself a 99, and then we will indeed play the game until 2026. I think he might be a fantastic find for them. Some great results, not least, of course, national champs time trial we mentioned to you, but he's been functioning extremely well. The Alpe Isère Tour has functioned well in the high ground, and the Giro Next Generation as well. This year, the youngsters race, Matt Brennan, of course, taking the day into Forlim Popoli, which was it finished like this, actually. The reason I picked it out is that it had a circuit, and he was very, very good on it. was Artem Schmidt. Finished within a group that settled the sprint at the end of the day after being off for much of it. And in fact separated themselves on the circuit that day. It was stage 8 in the Giro d'Italia. If you want to go and have a look at it on Pro Cycling Stats, we offer them our thanks. 4 minutes and 43. They've pulled out. This is incredible. Not pulled out of the race, they've pulled out the gap. This is absolutely amazing. So it's the lack of cohesion in the chase at the moment, and the kilometres continue to fall. Dali wanted more manpower up front, couldn't rely on UET members to do the chase. So if you want a job doing, do it yourself or with your teammates. Right?
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch this. And you can also see that DSM Firmenich Post NL riding towards the front. I don't think for one moment that maybe there's an outside chance both of them will stay away, but I don't think that'll happen. If it gets too touch and go, you know, a few other teams will come up and try and bring them back. But it's been an exceptional performance so far by Artem Smit and Frank van den Broek. I would lean on Artem Smit more than Frank van den Broek because he rides for a World Tour team. You're talking about, you know, a rider that's stepping up under contract now within his Grenadiers and going toe-to-toe with Frank van den Broek. And he's riding exceptional now. I don't think they will stay away. And in fact, I'm going to say they won't. But it just means that they will have to ride faster behind. And with Ben Healy attacking that time, I don't think they can stop. I think they have to kind of keep on prodding away. But there's a lot of teams just kind of sandbagging, kind of waiting. And unfortunately for Ben Healy, this climb is not kind of hard enough to really kind of break the race up. It does come back together, unfortunately, and you do have other teams with other things in mind, namely just making sure that no breakaway goes without them represented.
Swooping by the bar here, great place to be, still bathed in sunshine, as indeed we have been for much of the day. The Champlain Quartier. That's where I'm going. 51.4 kilometers from home. So our breakaway is about to just cross the line with, 4 laps remaining, which tells you an awful lot. Most notably, that we're going to have Jez and Michael back in a few minutes' time. But we've got to deal with this climb first. And indeed, as you can see, the principal teams are now kind of sharing the duty. And they've kind of got to, Brian, because you don't want anything silly happening on a day like this.
Yeah, they've started to take control. We did say that there's going to come a time where UET members start to take control of this race. For Pogacar to win, he wants to make it hard. Look at Arnaud Delay. He's out the saddle. He's having to try harder than he wanted to, you know, coming in too close to 50 kilometres to go. So Pogacar has just gone off the back of Lotto Destiny and Intermarché setting the tempo. Thank you, boys, but we'll take it from here.
Yeah, it's like tag team, isn't it, at the moment? You kind of feel, though, that they've been shrouded brilliantly. They have an invisibility cloak almost. And look at the cost. My life. I know, that's a big surprise. Axel Laurence goes. We've seen Corbin Strong actually being bitten today. Quite a few, I'm afraid, are going to find their ambitions hung out to dry on some of these little mounts that we're dealing with. Goodness me. It's a fantastic day, and we have got one hell of a finale in prospect. And to carry you home, it's going to be Jez Cox and Michael Hutchinson. Lads, it's the golden ticket. This is going to be great.
It does look like that, doesn't it? Well, these two are surviving. Thank you, by the way, Bravo Sierra and Charlie Kilo. This is Juliet Charlie and Mike Hotel checking in.
Go for it.
Mike Hotel, do you hear me?
I can hear you, Juliet Charlie.
Thank you. Right.
These two guys in the breakaway are having a storming day's work.
They are absolutely ripping. And are you talking about these two, or are you talking about Brian and Carlton?
I'm talking about the bicyclists. Brian and Carlton.
Oh, yes.
Pretty stunning. So.
Yes. that average speed that Brian's been keeping an eye on as well is mighty impressive. I think every time we see the Canadian flag flying, it's not actually flying, is it? It's just hanging. So the wind, if anything, may have dropped a little bit more too, but this is getting nasty at the back there. And it is literally on this lap that UAE Team Emirates have started to turn it up. Igor Arieta off the right-hand side, the first of those to come before the big tall figure, pressing on, and they're pretty much all there. This is Domen Novak now taking over at the front, and they've got some serious firepower in that team to try and set things up for Tadej Pogacar. And I'm guessing, Hutch, that's what this is about. It's partly bringing back the gap. Yes, bringing back the gap on the two out front, but also just thinning down this group, seeing if they can shake out De Lee. There is De Lee in that Belgian champion skin suit. He looks quite comfortable at the moment.
I'm going to say looks comfortable at the minute. What they're really trying to do is screw the pace on just to make it hard, because what they're trying to do is get rid of the puncher or sprinters, get them where either get them out the back or at least get them to the point where they just don't have enough sprint left. And at that point, it's just going to be easier for Pogacar maybe to go with a few kilometers to go. There's just not going to be the will to chase them. There's not going to be the sprinters teams are working so hard to protect riders at this point, aren't going to be able to do anything about it. And there's so much strength in that UAE team. You just look at the riders they've got to deploy on this project.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of cards to play.
They absolutely have. I hadn't read, and young and old as well, all the way from Panayuso up to Rafa Majka. I hadn't realised, by the way, that Rafa Majka is retiring at the end of this season. He's one of those guys as well. He seems to be still so good, and you can't help but think, oh, come on, just like, but he's been around. He has been around forever, hasn't he?
He has. Yeah.
35 years of age now. No. Domen Novak on the front. It's still Lotto Destiny protecting Arnaud De Lee, the defending champion. The Bull, as he's known, there he is in...
Intermarché have vanished completely.
Yes, they have. Well spotted. Good point. What a change that's been across the course of the whole race. If you weren't with us at the beginning of the race, the first, 8 laps?
First half of the race was all Intermarché.
Yeah. That's interesting. That is interesting. Where is Girmay? Is it that he's used up all of his teammates holding pace up there? It's still a big old peloton.
I haven't seen him for a while.
No.
I mean, he's clearly still in there. We'd be hearing about it if he wasn't. But, Corbin Strong was a man from the race, I just noticed.
Ah, right. Well spotted.
In trouble on the steep climb last lap, and clearly got climbed off at the little bit of a surprise.
So last year's second place finisher out of the race. Well, we've seen riders who have been dangling a bit back on there. Mikhail Murku right at the back there, the former Danish road race champion, hanging on. And there is Rafa Majka at the end of that string. Where's Pogi? Where is Pogi? That's him there, going through shot. Completely drifting apart from his teammates, but that won't be an issue. He's just sort of hanging out there. Yes, going for a feed. You're absolutely right. In this really, really chaotic feed zone. I noticed, by the way, once Carlton and Brian took over from us, by the way, Hutch, I was completely wrong about there being less of there are very, very few. Oh, crikey. Now they've all bunched up, of course. There appeared to be a lot less team cards than I thought.
I think there's one per team.
Yes, that would be it. That would be it. Now, the thing is, are UAE going to do this all the way until they catch the break? Let's see. It certainly does look like the touch paper's been lit in terms of the racing. I thought that little break who went just before we took over, Hutch, I thought that would be it, but that was chased back very ferociously. Yeah, the Ben Healy break.
Yeah. And it's Ben Healy. I mean, doomed breaks are his thing.
There's Girmay. Right near the back, though. Binny Girmay sitting... is this the back of the peloton we're looking at now? Yes, it is. There he is. Just in front of Perstrand Hagenes with something up his back. There he is. Good. Our camera bike's picked him out. Let's have a little look. He's always a difficult rider to read anyway.
He looked comfortable enough, but he's at the back, which isn't where he's going to want to be, and he hasn't got an awful lot of teammates with him. Or any teammates that I immediately spotted.
No. There he is, in shot. I've just seen Alberto Bettiol, Italian champion, rolled through in that shot, so he's definitely still in there, as is my pick for the day, Axel Zingli. I know I often pick him as my favourite for a lot of races he's in. I like him as a rider.
It's just because his name is with Z, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's also because I'm the only lead commentator, I think, who says his name properly. Everyone else gets it wrong, and I'm happy to say that. I know it's Zingli. No nasal zong or anything else. I've called him all sorts of things before, but I've settled on Zingley because I know it's now right. In my inbox, it's just going ping, 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 ping. Yeah, so there's enough of the fast finishers still hanging in here, and it's a big old pack, despite the fact that UAE Team Emirates have gone to the front again, and we only have these whole 4 laps left. And wouldn't you know it, we're getting close to the end of this one as well. We seem to be ripping through these 12.5 kilometre laps quickly. The average speed is
we're less than halfway around this one, but the main bunch is halfway around this one. This is just that sort of steep descent back down to the river. But it's really it's strung out. You can sort of see the elastic effect at the back. It's a big chase back on if you're at the back of the bunch.
Look at the amount of salt on Luke Durbridge's kit here. Turbo Durbo going to swing into the pits by the looks of it, but he's absolutely caked in salt. He'd be looking here at Axel Laurence, who's also climbing off. Now, he would have been, I think, there we go, the Frenchman, still current, under-23 World Road Race champion from that title he won in Glasgow. And I'd have said, Hutch, anyone that can win a world title on that circuit in Glasgow, and the under 23s did, I think they did all of it on the circuit, and they were nearly all of it. Sorry, they rode from Loch Lomond in and then finished on the circuit. So I had him down as a potential pick for today.
Well, hard to know.
No, not anymore.
These guys are still at 3:53, and the chase is on behind their They are doing. I mean, Arsham Schmidt. I think he's probably been a bit of a surprise. I think they'll be less willing to let him go up the road in future because he and Frank Vandenbroek have been a phenomenal pairing.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who weren't with us at the beginning of the broadcast, these two went from the gun straight after 2 Novo Nordisk riders. Right, we're looking down on the peloton here, and we can see Biniam Girmay talking to one teammate alongside him, and he's just taken a bottle from that teammate too. I think, looking down on the form, it might be Lorenzo Rota. If I've got that right, it's a miracle, because we're just looking down from above, but it looked like the form of Lorenzo Rota, the Italian.
A little bit of the heat has gone off this for the minute.
Yes, it has, hasn't it? UAE Team Emirates still holding their line, but with a little bit more company. Maybe just stirring a spoon in the hornet's nest to see who might
what happens next. What happens next? Because that gap is just drifting out very slightly again.
Yeah. I think you're right, though, Hutch. I think now they might be regretting specifically Artem.
Well, I think they knew what they were dealing with Frank Vandenbroek, but as a sort of someone who signed to the team only kind of 3 weeks ago, or whatever it was, they don't really know anything about Artem Schmidt. I mean, they don't know.
Yeah, they certainly do. And that's going to take some chasing. 4 minutes. And it's just, I mean, you're the master of pacing and judging pace, Hutch, I would say. Knowing you over the years, would you say that this is a good course for the chase? Because there are some long straights on it, but
I think.
Do you know what I mean by that?
I think it's a decent course for a chase. It's got some sort of. I mean, the meat of the course is it's got the hills, but it's also most of the course is actually fairly flat in terms of just the kilometres covered. And if you've got the kind of the momentum to get up and over the hills, you can roll along the flats very quickly. I'd still rather be chasing than in the break at this point.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate with 43 kilometres to go and 3 more complete laps to go that some of you may be joining us late on in this broadcast. Welcome to it. This is the first of our 2 one-day World Tour races at the end of this big season. We're looking here at a man who we thought could have been a big contender today, Corbin Strong. Last year's 2nd place finisher behind Arnaud Delis. Corbin Strong climbing off, so something not quite right there. He has had a good season though, Corbin Strong, very, very consistent this year. Just getting back to those who maybe haven't been with us since the beginning, these are the 2 remainders of our breakaway. Artem Schmidt, the American, newly signed to Ineos Grenadiers, and in front of him, Frank Vandenbroek, equally young, but just a little bit more illustrious decorated this year as the winner of the Tour of Turkey. And of course, taking second place on the first stage of this year's Tour de France, where his own teammate, who is riding in this race, of course, took the win. And that is Romain Bardet.
So for someone who might be at the game, he's at a very kind of kept his nose out of the wind today.
Bardet?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's the kind of rider who might. Well, then maybe if he's got the form, if he had the form to do that, Hutch, in this year in particular, when it is the last year of his career, I'm saying off the top of my head, I don't remember who is retiring at the end of this year, but he is, isn't he?
I think he's riding through to the beginning of next year, but he's not riding on the tour. I think that's what he was doing.
Right.
I think he's planning to do the next spring campaign.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe fancies having a go on Sunday, but then it comes back to that question that we were asking before we handed back over to Carthan and Brian about, what's the point then in hanging in today and coming 50th and then possibly blunting yourself for Sunday, unless it's all about building form. There he is, the man. As soon as we talk about it, there is Romain Bardet.
Well, it's kind of, are you really getting ready for Worlds? That's why you would slog your way kind of around this race in 50th and try to get a result on Sunday. You would really be looking 2 weeks down the line to a Worlds course that, not completely unmatched Romain Bardet's skill set.
Yeah, and he's only 33 years of age. I always think of him as maybe he's 35 or more because he's been around. It seems to have been around
I thought that about him 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
That kind of rider.
Hutch, before it kicks all off again, talking of Worlds, I've been bigging up how much the Grand Prix Montreal on Sundays is almost the perfect sort of trial for those Zurich Worlds. But I believe you've been doing a little bit of research into the road race course and who it maybe even who it might suit. Do you want to tell us
it's not a million miles away from what we're seeing on Sunday. It's got kind of 4,000 odd meters of climbing. It's sort of 270 odd kilometers. It's a hard course. The biggest difference is that unlike the course we've got today, or the course more pertinently the course we've got on Sunday, it's essentially one big climb per lap. So it slides back a bit more towards the climbers and away from the climbing puncheurs. Frankly, it has Tadej Pogacar written all over him. It is that, because any of the other riders you think who could win in that course, the first thing you have to do is work out how it's going to have gone wrong for Pogacar, because he's better than them at all the bits you need. But it's very much that kind of course. It's like Montreal, except just that bit more climbing oriented. Sorry, I did a little ooh there because Astana have got their wallet out and we've seen all the cash. And at the back of the cash is the Italian champion, Alberto Bettiol. I've still got to shake my head and spot that. That's so weird, seeing Michael Murcu and Case Ball all leading into good position. Alberto Bettiol. I've got to get my head around that. There he is, the Italian champion. He's been chilling at the back for, 10, 11 laps, and here he is.
That is definitely not an outside pick, is it? I think Bettiol could be really good today. If anyone was going to do, hello. Right, Connor Swift having a change maybe. It's quite a big trip, that. I mean, I bear in mind Connor Swift is one of those riders who was riding very well actually in the Tour of Britain last week. I'm not sure what day they arrived. I think most of the riders got here Tuesday or Wednesday, but even still, he finished that race on Sunday, and it's a fair old trip over to Canada. Hutch, have you been? I haven't asked you this. You must have, I'm sure. Have you been to Canada? And have you raced in Canada?
I have not been to Canada.
Oh my goodness me!
I have a Canadian Commonwealth Games team jacket that I traded my jacket for. Maybe Melbourne. Right. The Canadian kit is always in great demand because that flag's just fabulous.
Now, welcome back those of you who've just been away on a break. I was just asking Dr. Michael Hutchinson whether he has been to Canada, and he said no. So, Hutch, look, if you've got a Canadian Commonwealth Games jacket, that's going to buy you some privileges when you get there. Get yourself there. I've been twice, but I've travelled around a little bit, and I'm very lucky. Both times I went there for work, and I went to both sides of Canada. I went to British Columbia second, and the first time I went to Ottawa. And I always bang on about it. I had you know what I'm like when I'm covering races and working at races. I like to get out in the morning and go trail running and get lost. See how badly lost I can get, how many bears I can find, that kind of thing. And not too far west from here, just north of Ottawa. I know Canada's a big country, but the Gatineau Park is where I had probably my best The best ever trail run. Absolutely stunning trails there. And the Canadians really know how to sort of preserve and look after their trails. Anyway, we're back on the climb again, so maybe we'll come back
to the bike race. Yes.
We'll give my recommendations to Hutch about where he needs to go. Anyway, right. This is another big push by UAE. It is, by the looks of it, I think primarily so Tim Wellens. Tim Wellens, of course, fresh from winning the Renewy Tour. The Jaco Alula boys are dropping like flies as well at the back, by the looks of it. That's Michael Hepburn going out the back. UAE shredder in full effect, but it's operating at the back of this. Oh, no, it's not just the back. There's some splits in there too, Hutch, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a gap right there.
Yeah. That front split.
That'll come back, I think. But...
yeah. Bettiol is in there.
Bettiol, Pogacar's in there. Is Lee at the back there?
Let's have a look. Is that Lee who's latched on? I'm not sure, you know. There's just purely through positioning, Case Ball is in there. There's about 3 or 4 of the Astana boys and the UAE boys. I mean, some of them might not even realise the splits happened behind this stage. Of course, they're now focusing on the descent. Is that Lee? No, I don't think Lee is in there. I must say, on this circuit,
I think that's the X rider I'm looking at.
Yeah, yeah. There are times when just purely because of the nature of the course and how twisty it is and how fast they are on the descent, the camera motorbike is struggling to get out of the way and is definitely at times giving some kind of pace. I know we're zoomed in, but it's very hard to get it right on a course like this. It's always the same in criteriums, isn't it?
Yeah, no, and the camera bikes have been quite close during this race, but it's the only thing is there's also been a camera bike for a lot of the time in front of both the chase group and the lead group, so moving that a little bit less, it just produces a slightly higher average speed. I think that's all back together, isn't it?
Yeah, there's Lee on the out. Lee moving up now as well, so maybe spotting
maybe
that split doesn't want it. Yeah. He definitely doesn't want that happening again, so he moves up. Right, back to the line again.
Well, they've lost a minute in the last lap.
Yeah.
Because they were 4:31 last lap, 3:31 this lap. So they're going to win by a minute.
well, tell you what,
2 full laps to
keep
go.
It up like that.
3 full laps to go.
They're going to start getting tired, these two. That's a 204-kilometre race, this. As you'll see from the lap board, it should be saying 3 laps to go. There it is. And we've just lost a picture there, I think. Apologies, folks. We're dipping in and out of pictures here. And the nice thing is it does dip us back into this.
It's a very attractive city, isn't it?
It is. From the air, it looks... I mean, from the ground, it looks nice. But from the air, it looks absolutely stunning, doesn't it? Looking up to the citadel on the top there, down to the seafront. I think one of the things they're extremely... Seafront, sorry, the riverfront, the riverside, no doubt is slightly brackish water where it is anyway. Yeah, part of the reason I guess we keep cutting back to the ferries is that it is an increasingly important stop-off for cruises as well. And you can see why. It'd be a lovely place to stop off and chill for a bit.
Well, you park your cruise ship right in the port in the middle of the time. It's nice.
This is another of those youngsters I've not come across before, Michael Leonard. Yeah, Canadian
man.
Well, you know what? When did he say? Is he another stagiaire? It might be another stagiaire. Might be a very convenient one, wasn't it?
I think in the last sprint, maybe you were away, Brian was pointing out that you're not allowed to ride a World Tour race as a stagiaire. You have to actually sign a contract. And he rode for Ineos last year. He just hasn't really kind of popped up. You know, I haven't seen very much of him. No, it's under 23 Canadian time trial champion last year.
Yeah. You know what we need to find out, Hutch, whether he is Michael Leonard or whether he is Michel Leonard. Depending on which side of Canada he comes from, whether he's
or we could just call him Mike Lima, which seems to be the style we are.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I just say NATO reporting alphabet very much my wheelhouse.
Right. Let's keep an eye on the Pogi watch. There he is.
Yep.
All back under control again, though. What we really want to see, or what I want to see, is the back of that. Because I've got a feeling that it's dripping riders, or it has been. Let's see.
That is a very long, thin bunch.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Right, here we go. UAE, Lotto Destiny, and then it's a bit more mixed. There's the boys from Astana just regrouping.
There's Lee at the front. I didn't see him.
Let's have a look from this shot. You see Brent Van Meer of Lockwood Destiny. This is Rafa Micah. Do you know, a team we really haven't mentioned much, Hutch, is Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. They just haven't got, unless you include Sergio Higuita as a sort of sprint option. I think when in his pomp you would, but maybe not at the moment. He's not quite at the level he once was. I can't see them. I can't really see any real options for them in this. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. They've got Jai Hindley, Sergio Higuita, Bob Youngles, Jonas Koch. Jonas Koch is quick, but not necessarily in a finish like this.
Matthias Cabrera for a long one.
Yeah. And then there's Melissa Bike, who we've seen have a go. It was, but you know, I just literally looked up as it was happening. Was it Kelderman that was on the attack? Or was it Jorgensen? I couldn't quite see.
I think it was Kelderman. I mean, Jorgensen is kind of, they're having a very quiet race. You mean,
yeah,
they haven't done any work. They haven't been sliding up to the front now. And Jorgensen's one of those guys we talked about a little bit at the beginning of the race and haven't really mentioned since. And he had a great, good early season. I think we're quite cross then not to win that stage of the tour. Having, come into it quite high expectations, but he could be one for today. He was at the pre-race interview, the pre-stage interview, he was pointing at Perstrand Guinness, the Norwegian teammate. I haven't seen anything of him either.
I've seen him around the back a fair bit. I think he's still in there, Hutch. And he is, I think the reason that Jorgensen is picking him out, he is good. He's a big guy, but he's good in an uphill sprint finish as well. And he's won from that situation already.
Gives him some options.
Yeah. Right, let's look at the body language of these two. They still look all right. 3 minutes.
It is coming down. They've lost 36, 37 seconds in this lap. So I don't think they're going to wouldn't think they're going to hold the day, but they're going to be out there until the last lap.
Yeah, that's a long stint. Looking into the pits here as well. Nikia's aunt is one of those who won't be able to help Matej Mohoric or the others take a win, and they do have a strong team. I mean, Carlton was picking them out. Govakar and Zambanini are both riding really well. Zambanini they were both riding the Tour of Britain last week and both riding so consistently. Hutch, I'm happy to tell you this. On the mic at the finish line of the final stage in Felixstowe, I called the winner as Zambanini, but it was actually Govakar because the two of them have been so close in the sprints, and I had such a terrible view from my commentary point. I just assumed it was Zambanini as he broke cover and took the lead, sprinting to the line.
That's always particularly nice when the rider in question can hear you doing it.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And exactly, for Govakar, that's a really big win in a Point Pro stage race, but I corrected it as quickly as I could. It was just, I hate it, as a lead commentator, you do stick your neck on the block sometimes. And unfortunately, I had about 6 policemen stood in the cabin next to me that I couldn't see past. So I did the plucky. I'm pretty certain it was Zambanini had been sprinting better of those two. But anyway, my point is, they're both going pretty well as well. And we'll keep an eye on where the rest of the Bahrain victorious riders are. And we do keep going back to our map and see where Breakaway is in red and where the peloton is in green. See the Breakaway just making their way down that descent, back down to the Saint Laurent River again to go eastward back in the direction of finish. Once again, things look like they're just calming down again a little bit much.
Yeah, it's just sort of swelled out across the road. It'll go again in a second. I mean, this is that kind of long, flat top of the rectangle. These guys have just come down the descent. And I think the chase will get going again in earnest once they get down. Once they get to the bottom of the descent again.
Just looking to see whether either one of these two is starting to take shorter turns or is...
They've been really consistent.
Yeah.
They even been kind of waiting for kind of elbows to get a bit straight and heads to start popping up and that. But actually, no, they've ridden really, really well together.
touch, while we're looking at these two bikes, the Pinarello and the Scott, sorry, it is a Scott, isn't it, they ride, the DSM picked Scott. There was some, I was fascinated to read reports of George Hincapie's comments this week about, you know, the massive gain, the gains in average speed and the overall gains being made by the peloton at the moment. And he was talking about, I'm not quoting him directly, by the way, but he was saying effectively, like, you know, he is, you know, hoping it's down to mechanical advantages. And actually, there were some quite positive things in there about the advantages that have been made in aerodynamics and all the rest of it, and training, blah, blah, blah. But if we look at the bikes that our two breakaway riders are riding on there, and we think about, say, the difference between bike design in terms of aerodynamics and ergonomics and the rest of it, compared to when we talked about Stephen Roach in 1987 going for the Triple Crown, we're looking here at Tadej Pogačar going for the Triple Crown. What are like the say 2 or 3 biggest differences in the bike itself that's helping that mechanical marginal gain?
Well, bikes these days are designed from an aerodynamic point of view. When Stephen Roach was racing, it was about weight, and that was the beginning and end of it. Partly that is an increased appreciation of the importance of aerodynamics. Partly it's a minimum bike weight, which means that once you get down to minimum weight, you can concentrate on making the bike aero, because there's no point in making it more aerodynamic. And if you just look at the kind of bike Roach was riding in 1987, it would look, well, it's a museum piece now, with all due respect to it. You know, it's exposed cables, big round handlebars, big, round tubes made of steel. It's, the materials have changed, the shapes have changed. The different material means you can make it a very sophisticated shape. Try making one of these Pinarello dogmas out of round steel tubes. You can't do it. As soon as you're making it as a monocoque carbon structure, you can make it any shape you like within the UCI regs. But it's beyond that, because let's look at the aero socks. All of these riders are wearing socks coming halfway up their leg. And Steve Roach is wearing like little white ankle socks, like we all used to. The kit has changed. Most of these riders are in skin suits. I haven't seen like a traditional jersey in this race, and this is a 200-kilometer race. Yeah, helmets, the rest. It's a whole package. It's not just the bike, and the wheels, of course, are significantly different. Well, tires have got wider. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on.
It is fascinating. I find myself wondering. We always think, right, this is the cutting edge. This is where it's at. This is the, we are pushing every possible limit.
What are we still doing wrong? What are we going to look back at in 10 years and go,
exactly.
I can't believe I used to ride around the place on 19mm tires.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, back in the day, you'd have said, well, of course you ride 19mm tires because they're narrower. Therefore, they've got less, drag friction with the road. It's a no-brainer. And let's make it
19mm wide and blow it up to 160 psi. It's so different.
No, but I'm not laughing at it, because I can remember when I started road racing, I had like 19s and I went to 23, and I thought, I'm giving something away here. I'd definitely be faster on 9. Of course I would. So I couldn't find any reason to argue with that,
No,
anyway.
I think I'm not stupid about this stuff. I still got most of it wrong.
Oh, Paul Lapera's got a very nice kind of camo effect Van Rysel there. I don't know whether that's an unreleased frame or something. Did you see that, Arch? That was a bit unusual for the French national road race champion.
I do like the French national jersey. Very classy.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, right. Any of the...
It's still hanging around the 240 here.
Yep, they are.
They're getting on towards the point where they are going to have to sort of sort this out quite soon.
Yeah.
And there's a real hodgepodge of teams at the front. There's a lot of Uno X at the front for no tremendously clear reason.
Well, yeah, Carlton was umming and erring about who they thought it might be. I'm lucky. I get to commentate quite a lot on the French Cup races, and Uno X always take the Coupe de France races for the men really seriously. They harvest a lot of UCI points there. And their big player the last couple of seasons in that has been Frederick Devashnes, who's last year's Norwegian national road race champion. There he is, sitting second wheel.
He was on the attack earlier when Carl and Brad were commentating. He was off the front.
I still think he could be a really good pick for a day like this. But whoever it is,
would he have been off the front as early as that if he was their protector?
Well, maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
Seems it seems a bit Ben Healy-esque. With all due respect to Ben.
Well, do you reckon that's Healy done for today, and then we'll see him try the same thing in Montreal on Sunday?
I think Sunday is more his day. So yeah. If I were If I were Ben Healy, obviously I'm not. I have none of Ben Healy's skills and talents. I would be either riding at home or maybe even hopping off. He'll probably ride at home today. He's only got 28 Ks to go.
Yep, and we have only got 28 Ks to go, which means 2 laps next time they go through the line. We'll be seeing 2 laps to go, and I think you're right, Hutch. They are going to survive at least onto that final lap. These two, haven't they? Aren't they? By the looks of it. And I did think at one point, I thought they might be joined by that group. You know, the Healy group.
Yes.
Well, it's a big gap to cross, but if they're going for it and they're being let go, there's still the chance of that, I guess, that they might latch onto something, but they're actually going very well to hang on to them on that climb. Well, if Alberto Bettiol is being helped, he's going to need more than one, so another one comes up as well to help him. Case Ball is in front of him as well.
That team would love to get a result here.
Yes.
Particularly, they'd love to get a result with Bettiol. Came across the middle of the season. They are scrubbing around for points because relegation is becoming something that they have to worry about for the end of next year. And with the points available in these 2 races, it'll be a tremendously nice thing for the team coming into the end of the season to at least to sort of step the flow a bit.
They are currently, Hutch and I started talking about this earlier before I foolishly changed the subject, I think. Astana are currently 3 below the cut-off zone. So I'll remind people, the top 18 teams at the end of the 2025 season will be invited to join the World Tour, or stay up if they're already in it. And Astana, who are already up there, are below that cut. They're the 3rd team below it. Unless you're looking at a different table to me, Hutch, that is right, isn't it?
That's right. I mean, the other question which has been raised about that is Lotto Destiny are looking for a sponsor for next year, which they haven't yet got. So it's not 100% certain that they're going to be riding the World Tour next year. So there may well be an extra space in the World Tour. But still, if you're Astana, they're not even kind of the next inheritor of that space because they're behind Arkea and they're behind Uno X at the minute.
Looking down there on those pink figures, by the way, I did my research. I'll quickly get it in before this race goes totally bonkers, because the artist is Philippe Catherine, and they've chosen Philippe Catherine has chosen Montreal and Quebec. There's those statues are actually in both of the cities, so we'll look out for them on Sunday as well, and they've been there since May. I think there's supposed to be all sorts of deep and meaningful artistic things to read into them, but actually, when I read what the artist himself has said about it, I think it's really just supposed to be a bit of fun, make people laugh and point, and they're in ideal position. Dare I say it? I don't know whether they were made with the race in mind, but being seen from racing position and overlooking the city, they just work perfectly. I love them. They need them at the Giro, don't they?
They would work well at the Giro. Yeah, they could put them on the train.
Absolutely. Right, well,
2 minutes for these guys.
We're getting an update on the King of the Mountains competition. I think Frank Vandenbroek has run away with that, and he's going to keep it until we see him on the podium. But let's keep him on behind. Right in the front of that little split there is Anatoli, last year's winner, moving up. We have seen a fair bit of him. I guess that's not uncommon for him, though, Arch. I've noticed he's actually quite happy to take a fair bit of wind in the way that some of the other fast men aren't. And maybe that's a good thing.
He's clearly very keen to stay at the front. I mean, he's got caught behind the split already, and I think he's just very keen to make sure that doesn't happen again. He's young. He's got that kind of enthusiasm. He's got that sort of attacking style. I quite often think it's kind of slightly older sprinter types who get very, very wise about sitting in the wheels.
Yep. Just seen Matej Govakar going. Yeah, just seen Govakar going for back, so that will help me with my Zamborini picking. If it's a Bahrain Victorious rider that's sprinting out for the win, this time round I might get it right. Anyway, well, we're down to the 2 UAE boys on the front. He's thinning things down a bit. It's Rafa Micah. He's pushing on. He's got Tim Wellens behind him. Over the top already. We haven't talked too much about Soudal Cricts. We haven't really mentioned Julian Alaphilippe for a while. Have you seen him, Hutch? Normally he's so easy to spot. I haven't either, actually. No.
I've just noticed the Strand Hagena is sitting on about 4th wheel. We talked about him not long since from Visma.
Well, he's got good form. He was third at the Renewy Tour behind Tim Wellens, who we've just seen at the front. Hello, this looks like Derek G. Where's he? I think he's off the back.
I think he's off the back.
Or on the back. That might be the very last, yeah. Right, so maybe he'll wait for Montreal on Sunday, but it would be great for him in a season where he's been good. Here we go. Next attack coming from the Decathlon Agile Mondial by the looks of it. Not everyone wanting to sit back and just let UAE do all of this. This is not a part of the chase. This is definitely an attack.
At 132, that gap is coming down quite fast. Yeah. I think the guys in front are finally beginning to get a little bit tired because it doesn't look as if the chase has really been all that hard, but the gap's coming down all the same.
No, this looks like Biniam having a go. Young in the front, hello. He's also getting company from Sudan Quick Step 2. This might not be quite the way UAE team members have planned it, but while they press on and look to get Pogi in good position, others fancy just jumping over the top of it and getting on with it themselves before Pogi has a chance to light it up. 2 laps to go. And they're still clear, these two. Artem Schmidt and Frank Vandenbroek on a really good ride. They were originally in a group of, what was it at the beginning of the day? 6? 6 became 5.
The group in the background doesn't look a minute and a half behind, I'll tell you.
No. $121 is the official.
I think it is 121, but I think it might be less. Yeah, this is them coming to the line now. That wasn't a minute 20 ago.
No. This looks like
they're not quite there yet. Actually, sorry.
No. Kilgelders has jumped across to, I think it's already on path. And well, Ineos Grenadiers coming up there to join in. That looked like Lawrence de Plus. Oh, he's coming up to get a feed, of course. I can't read too much into this run into the finish because it's always about the feed, isn't it?
They're feeding all the way to the last passage through the line. Yeah. So you're going to get this next lap as well. I'll just tell you that now.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that is a messy feed zone. I don't know. I think it's almost as if the other climb is too steep to feed on and too many fans, and this isn't steep enough.
This is really just the top of the climb. It's quite quick still.
And there goes Jai Hindley riding through. Jai Hindley well up and moving up too as well, Hindley. So if that indicates anything. So Kilgelders, the Belgian, and William Pavitan for the Frenchman were there. They are. Oh, it's Alex Baudin. Sorry, I said I wasn't entirely sure. Baudin's even taller. The former Kilgelders, normally pulling all sorts of faces too in second place.
We've got the camera bike in front of them, which isn't doing them any harm whatsoever.
No. Or in that slightly more twisty part of the course here. Well, aren't they? Where if the camera bike gets far enough out of the way, it's out of view as well. Not easy to get right.
Pulled out a bit of an advantage there.
But it's still saying that 1 minute and 5 seconds is back to this group, by the looks of it, group 3 on the road. And nice and calmly, UAE team members just keep that going. If Hutch, if Pogi is to Pogify this, where does he go? Do you think he can leave it really late?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose that climb up round that first very steep climb, we would just come up from the docks area. I mean, that feels like the obvious place to go, doesn't it? But does he leave it to the last lap? Because that's really just making it a particularly elongated sprint. Or would you think, is he going to think about going at the end of this lap?
Well, I think he could probably do either, by the looks of it. This is Romain Gregoire now, another of those guys who actually I also had an asterisk next to Gregoire today because he's another guy who's got got an extremely fast finish uphill. I still don't think it's quite, as we've discussed,
Got a little bit of a chase back on,
finish line. Yeah, that will be a chase, you're right. Particularly at this stage in the race. But actually, oddly enough, I'm sure we've seen quite a lot of bike changes and stuff today. It could just be the way the course is lined up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in the same place. They're all in that, on the same stretch.
Right. Once again, we get to see two riders who've both got a lovely position on the bike. Actually, I've quite enjoyed watching these two today, Hutch. I'm sure you have too. They're both nice stylists, aren't they, those two?
They're kind of tall, rangy riders, and they've ridden. We keep saying they've ridden really well. They've been very consistent. They went absolutely from the gun. They've been out there. They've been out there for getting on towards 200 kilometres by the time they finished, and they have just trucked along. I mean, they clearly had a little bit of help because that break's gone from 6 to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2. They just sort of shed the smaller team riders, but they've just kept riding, and they've been driving it between the pair of them. They've driving very hard all day.
There's an awful lot of dark blue and blue in general in the peloton at the moment, isn't it? So I'm looking down. I'm just thinking. I'm just scrolling down through my start list there, looking. Who did we not mention? We have really not mentioned Movistar at all. I think we may have touched on the name of Alain Barrow early in the day, but I don't think we saw him. And I've just noticed in the middle of the pack, there's probably maybe 6 of the Movistar boys all together as well. Keep an eye on them. On the Movistar front, Aaron Barrow is a good pick. Maybe even Ivan Garcia Cortina for a top 10 too. Hey Hutch, look at that lovely kind of purpley spangly bike of Phil Gelder's. Of course, we cut away as soon as I mentioned it. He's got one of those. It's one of those kind of pearlescent, sort of
iridescent. Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's kind of, as bikes get more and more similar, it's become about paint jobs. One of the kind of the press releases that depresses me the most is all the strings of pre-Tour de France press releases of new colorways of bikes. Like, it's the same bike. Yeah, it looks nice, but the last one looked nice too. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. That was a nice bicycle.
Absolutely, I'm a sucker for a paint job like that.
These guys have got 27 seconds.
Yeah,
it's not nothing.
No. Kilgelders was very impressive at Tour of Britain last week. Another of those riders who seem to be riding really well, trying to help out Julien Alaphilippe and Remco Evenepoel. The embarrassment of riches in the Tour of Britain last week did.
It's a nice run into the world doing Tour of Britain in these events. It kind of feels to me like a nicer way to do it than the Vuelta, because the Vuelta can be so tough.
Yeah. Well, of course, the Tour of Britain is down to 6 days this year. It's normally 8, but maybe 6 days is even better. So you're not building up too much fatigue over 8 days of racing.
It'll suit some riders, particularly if you're kind of a slightly older rider. You've got a bit of mileage history. You might want a slightly different way of doing it, but it'll suit a lot of riders very well. And it gives you a slightly longer break to get to Canada, get over the jet lag, hit these races a little bit harder.
I'm not going to tempt you to pick a winner in here just yet, Hutch, but just to warn you, I am going to do that to you. You know I do that to my co-commentators, so you be ready. I haven't made my mind up yet, but then again, we've still got such a big group back there. It is a big pack. I actually thought it'd be smaller by this stage, not least because most of these riders are racing on Sunday. So maybe, no, do you know what? I don't even think, not all nations have announced their final start list for the Worlds either, have they? So there might be riders in here who want to use it as a final selection finger in the air.
There'll be some trying to show they've got form,
yeah.
Big nations like France, which always selects quite late. I don't know whether they've announced their team for the Worlds. Traditionally, they sometimes are quite late, but maybe not this year. I shouldn't be confidently saying the French champion.
Well, as I've already mentioned, that's not the only big championship in the next 2 weeks. The Europeans are on this weekend, hence why we're missing a few of the big European stars in these two Canadian races. You can catch
Christophe Laporte was 6th in this race last year, but he's obviously...
There we go.
It's Flanders this weekend.
Of course. Women's races tomorrow, 162k in Limburg, and then the men's race for those European Road Race Championships, 222.8 kilometres in total. That is on Sunday. It'll be just before we bring you coverage of the
great days. You can have a great day's bike race watching on Sunday.
Absolutely, that's a full day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Watch the European road race and then watch this in Montreal. That's fantastic. I couldn't do it, but I'll be there for half of it, definitely, and I'll catch the result. We won't do any spoilers, don't worry. If you're going to watch the Europeans later, maybe some people actually go out on a bicycle on the Sunday morning match as well, you know, so they might not see
I used to do that.
No, me too. It's weird, isn't it? So anyway, we will not give any spoilers, but maybe what we say might be coloured by what we think have gone on maybe back in
Have we seen
Europe.
Girmay lately?
No, good point. Let's keep an eye on where he is. The fact that his team seemed to have dissolved when
I think they've gone up the white flag on that. I mean, he kind of at the Tour of Renewy, you were trying to decide, is he just kind of riding himself back into racing after the Tour, or is he just not got the form, or what? I'm beginning to suspect he hasn't got the form.
I don't know, but I can't remember whether it was your theory or Smithy's about the idea that he might have been enjoying himself a little bit after. We all know how good he is. I mean, it wasn't even when he won Relegation, he'd already announced himself as a podium finisher in under 23 Worlds, and his quality was undoubted. You could see it, but what he did at the Tour de France this summer, the green jersey, 3 stages for Eritrean cycling, where he is an absolute mega star anyway, and they love their cycling. For African cycling, just for the sport in general, it was just
really a really assured tour. It just looked
Yeah.
It kind of something I say about riders that sometimes people do take the wrong way. It looked like he was doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I know exactly.
He had arrived planning to execute that. He did it. It looked natural. You had to look at it afterwards. Like, well, of course it worked out like that for him. It's stunning Tour de France.
Yeah.
And I think when I was looking at this race this morning, I think he was possibly my pick for the race, but I think be my pick now, unfortunately.
Well, I won't squeeze you for that one until about 10k to go, Hush. Don't worry. I'm fairly consistent on that one. Around about 10k to go. Well, how far through this are these two getting? 37 seconds.
He's coming in.
They risk it.
I mean, we're still 51 seconds to the boys at the front of that graphic, to be believed. And we're kind of we're well in towards, there's less than a lap and a half to go.
Yep. We're going to hear the ding, ding, ding once they're up there this time, up at the finish line. What can we read into this pack? It's bubbled up, but it's fast here anyway. They've got that little bit of a tailwind, haven't they? Pushing them along the edge of the river. There's the graphic. Well, I love it. Eventually that graphic's going to come together and the 3 dots will be right alongside each other. But see how close it is. What can I predict an attack from that big pack this time, from somebody big up the climb this time, Hutch?
Yeah, somebody's going to have to spin the wheel. Yeah. I think the question is it going to be 1 or 2? I mean, I think that climb, this gap is going to tumble just as we go up, because all the climbs in this course are in this kind of last few kilometers, the last 3.5 k's of the course. So we're just getting into that, and the back is going to be so fast up those hills this time. Those gaps are really going to come down. I think, despite the fact there's a 41-second gap to the group, to the pair at the front at the minute, I think that's going to be very, very close on the line this time through.
Well, Rafa Mike has done his bit, I think, by the looks of it. He's swung off. I have to say, I never quite know whether Tadej Pogačar needs any help. When you have a team like as strong as UAE Team Emirates that have been built around Tadej Pogačar, you understand why they use it. But do you know what I mean by that? I always get this sense. I never see them come to the front and think, well, that'll help Pogačar. I kind of always got this sense he doesn't really need it anyway. He could just happily float around in there and still do his business.
Yeah, but it probably doesn't make him any worse.
No. There is that. Bodan here, who this year, at the age of 23, really stepped up with a win in the Tour de la Mosam. Tour de la Mosam Périgord, as it's known, actually. I was on commentary for that one. That was a very impressive coming of age for a young guy who climbs very well, but seems pretty tactically astute as well. Seemed to read the bike race very well at Tour de la Mosam. I reckon the wind has got up a bit, just a bit, because we're seeing more fluttering of the flag. They're much more still.
Yeah, but if you're in a city, not all flags are receiving equal wind. So it's the flag up the top of the hill, it's the flag at the bottom of the hill.
Right. Jan Tratnik the first to go. Hello, and he's got Pogi on his wheel. 2 Slovenians right at the front of the race. Not for any good reason. I'm not suggesting there's been any kind of collusion here, but this is Jan Tratnik. Maybe this is a world's rehearsal. Hutch, it's still Welsh rehearsal.
Yes, that's what
Jan
it is.
Tratnik leading out Pogi. Look, it's training boys. You're not going to be practicing your move. Hello.
They haven't, well, they've thinned it out. They haven't really established it. It hasn't broken yet anyway.
No. Definitely Jan
But
Tratnik.
that gap is 12 seconds, 11 seconds. That's them. They're just at the top of the screen now. They're in sight.
So Vismalisa likes Jan Tratnik, the guy who's done that. Tadej Pogacar, let's be fair and say he's just following Jan Tratnik. But they are closing in on these two after, well, what is that, 175 kilometres out there. You know, that's my maths again, Hutch. What is it?
It's
204 in total.
192.
There we go. 192k out front. Really good day out for those two.
Be interested to see how they go on Sunday.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then you've got that question as well. I wonder whether Artem Schmidt is riding the under-23 road race. We had this conversation earlier, didn't we? So he's 20 years of age.
Yeah,
The World Championship.
Yes, and this will be his last chance, because as of next year you can't ride the under-23s if you're a World Tour rider. Oh, we thought we were going to make it to the last lap, and then not quite.
Not quite. Hello. No, wait a minute. Has Pogi taken over now? Here we go. Someone's got a last lap plan, no doubt about that. And it's this is Tim Wellens, is it? Hang on. This looks like Tim Wellens to me. Tadej Pogacar sitting back a little bit. So they're using the wooden hammer before the sledgehammer by the looks of it, UAE team member. It's Tim Wellens in great form after his Renewy Tour win. And this looks like Maxim van Giel's taking over now as well. Van Giel's moving to the force. Some of the big players here. Two super strong Belgians duking at the front. It looks like Van Giel's in this bright sunlight in Quebec. Pogacar just lurking and waiting. Wellens going. That's really interesting, Hutch, isn't it? I wonder what the plan was there.
I think the plan was probably to do more damage. Mind you, there's a gap, but it'll come back together. I think UAE were probably hoping to just break the whole thing up a little bit more though.
Yeah. Well, Tim Wellens has carried on. He has looked back and seen they're latched on. There is some daylight, though, between them and the next group, I think. Is there? Is there? Tiny bit. He's closing back up again, though.
I'm just trying to see if which side of that daylight to lead.
Yes. Yeah, defending champion, of course. And unfortunately, because of the splits, I think we've now got camera motorbike stuck right at the back here as well. Tim Wellens on the front. It looks like Matteo Jorgensen in second. Yeah, Maxim van Giels and then Tadej Pogacar.
Alaphilippe.
He is there, isn't he? Yeah. Lulu well positioned. And Lotto Destiny have still got good numbers at the front. Where's
Delis, though?
Delis. Everyone's looking round. Alaphilippe looking round. Prime time to an attack, we would think, at some point. Bodan moving up again. I think Alex Bodan fancies going again, but they know it. Pogacar just can't. Pogacar's been so calm. He's going to get back on the radio again by the looks of it. Who else they've got in there? Wellens looks like he's very itchy at the front. Bodan again, I think he's going now. And he takes a white jersey with him. Is that Pogi on his shoulder?
No, it's too big, isn't it?
No, too big, you're right. Bodan's he's got good form. He's already been up the road just now. Been caught and he goes again. I did kind of highlight on my Decathlon Edges list Dorian Godon. Might just keep a little eye out for him, because I'm just trying to pick out, if this does stay together, who the best sprinters are in this. It looks like Juan Ayuso going now as well. So with that super strong team that UAE team Emirates have got, they're just pinging guys off the front and seeing what kind of damage they can do.
I think we've kind of, because we've got Irene Victorious in force at the front.
Yeah. Again, I might be confusing some of the racing with the race into the feed. So Hutch, I'm right in saying that's the last one now, isn't it?
That's the last feed. This should be the bell lap.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Here we go. And it's going to be UAE team Emirates who lead across the line, but they aren't half burning some matches. I've got a feeling they're losing numbers, UAE team Emirates. Juan Ayuso on the front now. Jan Tratnik just behind him. And I noticed there as well that Kevin Vermark has moved up, the American, always good on a circuit like this, but not the fastest of finishers. Another of those riders, of course, who coped very well with the streets of Glasgow last summer in those World Championships, finished in the top 10 somewhere. Ayuso appears to be, Hutch, emptying himself, keeps kicking and going again, but I think this is his last long turn, probably. And Pogi just freewheels behind. He really hasn't done much so far. Who's sitting on Tadej Pogacar's wheel? Let's see. Now we see our quick-step riders.
An enormous number of attacking opportunities between now and the final set of time. So I think it's just everything's just going to slow down slightly here, perhaps. A lot of people looking at each other.
And the pace is definitely on, down to one line, and there are gaps all over the place, aren't there? Little 2 bike length gaps every now and again.
Yeah, but I mean, up the climb there was quite a lot of daylight. It was, the string was quite broken, and it is all back in the line now. Just with the kind of the slightly faster descent, it's not that hard to just close up those gaps. I mean, this is beginning to look. This is clearly going to be a race up those sort of over the last 3 kilometres. The final climb, that steep little climb up around the sort of hairpin starts at 3.5 kilometres to the line, and that's where it's going to go, isn't it?
Yep. Well, this is the final lap, lap 16 of 16 laps of this, the 13th edition of the Grand Prix de Quebec, the first of these 2 World Tour men's races this weekend in Canada. And we've had a breakaway of initially 7 riders, became 5, became 4, and eventually it was just 2 left. They've only been caught in the last lap. And we're watching now Juan Ayuso working for Tadej Pogacar, who sits back there. Pogacar, who's trying to get 2 in a row in this, and it's one of the Visma bike riders now who goes. That was a nicely timed attack on the descent too.
Hagenes is not.
It looks like Hagenes is sort of warm. Too tall. I need to check. Hagenes is a big guy.
Well, could be on the size.
Yeah. It's his kind of attack. No, it's not Hagenes. It's Jorgensen. Yeah. So the man who had such an amazing start for this year, the American Jorgensen, still only 25 years of age. He always looks older than he is to me. Winner of Paris-Nice back in the springtime. Doesn't that seem like an awful long time ago? Well-timed attack. And there's someone who could hold off a speeding field like this. Juan Ayuso is still on the front, but his head is going up and down all the time. I think it's not going to be long before he swings off. 10k to go, Hutch. Right, 10k to go. Dr. Hutch, who is going to win this bad boy?
I'm beginning to think about DeLee or Pogacar. Depends how you want it won. I wouldn't be surprised if DeLee does it again from here, because this is it's a bigger bunch, and it's going to be more of a bigger group sprint than I think we thought 2/3 of the way through the race, where it just seems so attritional. We have a lot of bike riders still here in the end, and I think we all thought it was going to be sort of a much smaller group at this point.
So, Michael Hutchinson, I'm putting you down for Arnaud DeLee. I am going to say I don't see Matteo Jorgensen. I don't see him holding them off like this from here.
Have we seen anything of Michael Matthews?
I was going to say I haven't seen him.
Is my habitual answer to who do you think is going to win this bike race is Michael Matthews?
Who's not there?
I haven't seen.
Well, hang on, Hutch. When was the last time you did see him? I don't recall seeing him much at all.
I have seen him, but it's been a while.
Yeah. I better give you a winner before it's too late. You've gone for DeLee. I mean, I may as well just pick Pogacar. You've gone DeLee. It's so obvious. I'm just going to say Pogacar. Sorry about that, everyone. Take your pick at home. I always think I think it's something I want to keep encouraging. Always, any bike race, 10k.
If I could see a bit more presence of Israel Premier Tech, I'd be talking about Stevie Williams, but I haven't seen very much of them either. It's been the same handful of teams you've seen at the front for the last 2 laps.
Yeah. There are, though, and I'll say it again because I want to try and make myself look clever here in case it happens. There are quite a lot of Movistar jerseys in the front third of that group, more than I thought were there, and Aaron Barru was 4th in this race last year. He is the Spanish road race champion this year. He is the kind of guy, actually, who could survive up that drag and then pop up and win it.
Certainly is.
Let's see. This is a great move, though, by Jorgensen. It was a hard attack right the way down the outside of the road. No one managed to get on his wheel. Everyone had a look across at it, but that's the way you do it, Hutch, isn't it?
It was
so far over.
Textbook. I mean, it was just a little bit of a lull on the group, and he went for it once and went for it hard.
Yeah.
It's just the kind of impatient attack. You wait, bang.
Well, you know what? Look behind. Well, there they come, but 7K to go. Big arse.
So don't see it working, because he probably needs to be still pulling out that gap faster than he is. He just clicks 14-15. And if he gets to sort of 30 seconds, I mean, he's going to need 30-40 seconds at the bottom of that line.
Yeah. Such a big breakthrough year for him. We're watching Aros de Plus rocking and rolling those pedals over. Big tall Ineos Grenadiers rider. Right, who's he working for then? Who is Laurens de Plus working for?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, I tell you what, this would be a wonderful way of kind of shutting up all the talk about them this week. They were to get the win, but I mean, he's rolling the big one on the front there.
He's not doing that for fun.
No.
Who's that? Who's the?
I can see. Is that Ben Swift? I think Ben Swift is about 10th or 12th place. And Ben Swift was going well last week in Tour of Britain as well, so he might be carrying some form into this. Sheffield is there, right in the middle. So Magnus Sheffield and Ben Swift. Sheffield in the middle, Swift off to the left, if I'm not mistaken. Gosh, it's easy to forget what a brilliant spring Matteo Jorgensen had, isn't it? Not just winning Paris-Nice, but also winning Glasgow-Vlaanderen as well. He was up there in a number of the big classics too. Fantastic start to the season this year.
Pace has gone off this slightly.
Yeah.
They're clearly not too concerned about Jorgensen, where they're riding.
No. Romain Bardet up at the front as well, with DSM Firmenich Post-NL, so maybe he does fancy doing something.
Your Kevin Vermaak suggestion from a few kilometres ago isn't the stupidest thing I've heard anybody say today.
No. No, there he is as well, just on the left-hand side there, the DSM Firmenich Post-NL rider. Always goes well in this kind of terrain. Quite a bulky, chunky, powerfully built guy, but climbs well, as does Arnaud Delis, sitting second wheel there. I have to say, Hutch, your pick of Arnaud Delis is looking good, looking better all the time. He doesn't seem to have had any real problems today either, despite everything that's gone on in the last couple of laps. He
got caught the wrong side of a split once. But apart from that, I mean, he's taken a fair bit of wind, is the only thing, as we've sort of talked about this a few kilometres ago. We've seen an awful lot of his face.
Yeah. Now come Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe on the outside as well. Max Schachmann is the third of their riders. Sobrero at the front, if I'm not mistaken, too. Don't tell me this is when we start to see Entomarche Wanty coming, getting back to where they were. They did so much early on, didn't they? Now, is that Girmay on the outside moving up? Yes, it is. He's got a teammate looking for him, but Girmay's having to go the long way around. There he is.
On the outside of the league. He's in the wind at the minute. You can see him.
Yeah.
Well, you can see him a second ago. Alaphilippe's tucked in there nicely.
Yes, he is indeed. But at the moment, the American, Matteo Jorgensen, is holding them off.
Yeah.
If they stop.
No, they're catching him.
No.
Well, he's gone from 17, 16, 15, 14. He's now going to have 12, 13 now, assuming that the GPS is giving us the right split. They're going to catch him probably before the climb, to be honest. The climb's a kilometre away.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes up in a couple of steps, and as we know, we're starting to get into it. The last 3 kilometres are all uphill anyway, all the way to the line.
Biniam Girmay's right back at the bike race.
Yes, he is.
I'm glad we wrote him off 10 kilometres ago.
Exactly. He's right there.
We know nothing.
Yeah, exactly that. So Jorgensen leads on to what will be the gradual start of the climb. It just climbs ever so slightly, and then we get into it. 3K onwards, it is uphill to the line. Let's watch. So Arnaud Delis is sitting in about 7th or 8th place back. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe looked like they were bringing up somebody. I couldn't quite figure out who it was. They've drifted out of it a little bit more now. A lot of individuals up there. Girmay finding himself, third wheel from the front. with no support at the moment, but he's made his way up there in good time. Maybe Billy Girmay is a great pick for today. Well, we know he is in terms of his normal best. He would be right up there.
It just seemed weird. We had Intermarché had nothing but for the first half of the race, and then it is vanished.
Here we go. Here we go. Now we're getting grippy. Two of the... hello, Alaphilippe, who's at it. So Julien Alaphilippe starts to open up. Little gap, and one of the Lotto Destiny riders who's following him, that is not Van Hills. Here goes Alaphilippe going full crack this time. Looking over his shoulder. On the drops, Alaphilippe. Maxime Van Hills coming across to it, but he's being covered as well. This is a good packing by Lotto Destiny.
Pogacar chasing.
Yes, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Pogacar in third, they're fourth in that group. Van Hills looking to go over the top of Alaphilippe. Alaphilippe, has he got a second dig? It was one of the things I noticed at the Tour of Britain with Alaphilippe. He's got a really powerful one punch. He would usually be able to do two of them, but I think that second punch at the moment is missing. I might be wrong.
He didn't open his mouth for the first one.
No. So, Tadej Pogacar in this group, Maxime Van Hills, Julien Alaphilippe, Matteo Jorgensen, and there is Arnaud Delis closing up by himself to his own teammates. I don't even know if they know that he wasn't on, but he is getting back on now, Hutch.
Certainly is. This is a very august group, isn't it? We've got Alaphilippe.
Absolutely. Here he goes again. It's almost as if he heard me suggesting he didn't have a second kick. There is that second kick, but what's in it? How much can he distance Tadej Pogacar? He's got Tadej Pogacar himself chasing him down, Hutch.
Tadej Pogacar hasn't had any trouble with that.
This is dangerous though, because Delis is now tucked in this group. There he is. He doesn't need to do anything yet. He's got two teammates there. If Lotto Destiny mess this up, then they really have messed it up. Because Pogacar goes to the front. He doesn't want to act. By the looks of it, Pogacar doesn't necessarily want to lead yet either. So he is happy to leave this late, but a big sprint between Tadej Pogacar and Arnaud Delis. I'd love to see it, and I think that is what we're about to see.
Yeah.
Pogacar going now, 2K to go. Delis is just getting onto his wheel. So Delis is trying to grapple climbing-wise with the guy who's already won the Giro and the Tour de France, and he's doing it. Look at this. Arnaud Delis is arguably the best sprinter in the race, and he's hanging on to Tadej Pogacar. This is an amazing ride by the defending champion, the Belgian champion. Tadej Pogacar looks round, and he sees he's got the best sprinter in the race locked on his wheel. Is there no limit to Arnaud Delis' talents?
And that's just letting Delis' teammates come back. So
yep. What a ride by Lotto Destiny. Amazing. Off they go, and Delis doesn't have to do anything. He then forces, of course, Tadej Pogacar to chase. This is a fascinating four up at the front of the race. We're not even really seeing what's going on behind, but we've teased out the two big favourites, our two big favourites, Hutch as well, between Delis and Pogacar. Delis, I think, possibly just laying off a little bit to see if he can get the rush. I would not be surprised, if he takes a flyer here. But
1.4 Ks, it's early.
It is early. It is early. Now, Van Hills here, if anything, the Lotto Destiny boys now need to start their lead out from the breakaway, because that's what it is. They might not have been expecting that as they look round. It's a breakaway where they only have one rider to beat. Unfortunately, he's the best rider in the world right now, and that's Tadej Pogacar, going for the Triple Crown in just a couple of weeks' time. Well, he looks good so far. I don't think, Hutch, we've actually seen Tadej Pogacar go deep yet at all in this race.
No, I don't think he's pressed the accelerator to the floor yet, but he's got, he's won against three. I mean, surely he can't win from this.
Oh, there's the Flamme Rouge.
Stupid thing to say.
Well, he's got, exactly, 1 against 3. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If Lotto Destiny don't get the win from this situation, then they've got something wrong. This is Maxime Van Hills licking his lips. Now, he has to be, on paper, starting the lead out for Delis. The problem is, I'm not sure Delis wants to go just yet. That was a remarkable ride by Delis to hang on to Pogacar where he was. Maybe it's not Pogacar's absolute sparkling best. This is his first race back since winning the Tour de France. They need to be careful, those three, though, because there's other riders coming up who could overlap. Is that Michael Matthews? Is that? Hang on, let's have a look at who the J.K. Alula rider is. No, it's not Matthews. It's not. Now the group is coming back together. Paul Lapierre, the French champion, looks round. He's right up near the front. And here comes, I think that's Govacar being led up as well. Theo Bilbao's there. And now we're going to start the sprint. And it looks like Tadej Pogacar is going to be quite happy to dust this in the sprint with the others. And who would bet against him doing exactly that too? Lee hanging on to Pogacar's wheel. He wants to hang on to it. It looks like, at the moment, well, it's going to be the big push from... Let's see the Jaco Alula rider is, and here comes Teish Benoot. Teish Benoot rolling and rocking all over the place. It looks like some of the big favourites have been wiped out. Biniam girmay on the outside as well. This is a massive move by, it's going to be one of the Jaco Alula riders. I'm just looking to see who it is. I don't think it is Matthews. If it is Matthews. Michael Matthews with his head down. Oh my gosh, he's gone and done it, Hutch. Oh, forgive me for not spotting the form. I tell you what, with his head down, I wasn't sure, but Bling has gone and done it. We were talking about where was he? Forget where was he? I didn't even spot who it was coming to the line. I was trying to...
He's been invisible.
Michael Matthews. Unbelievable. He's done it. He's the only rider to win 3 of these.
Halfway around the last lap, we're saying, is he still in the race?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, brilliant result.
Wow. What a ride by Michael Matthews. Apologies to the fans at home there. I really messed that up. But with his head down, I thought it just didn't look like... You know how he's got normally quite a snappy sort of thrashing style in the sprint. But that was much more sort of, kind of power drag to the line. He gets the congratulations to Tadej Pogacar. But wow, Michael Matthews, the only rider to have won 3 editions of the Grand Prix de Quebec. And it is seemingly the race that suits his talents just absolutely perfect. Well, there you go. Maybe my idea of him being able to win a world title will come now. Maybe not this year.
And I tell you what, the team were anonymous all day. We didn't see anything from Jaco Alula until Michael Matthews arrived at the finish line.
Let's have a look at it from above, shall we, Hutch? So, Michael Matthews. Well, there we go. From here, you can spot the form of Michael Matthews. I was a little bit put off by Teish Benoot coming over the top. And I think it might have been Romain Gregoire as well. I need to see who the Group Arm refugee rider is. Biniam girmay on the left there as well. Ferdinand Hagenes, I think it is for this Melissa bike. And at this stage, it was looking like Biniam girmay had got it, but no, they'd run out of time. And he's got the 3 fingers in the air already.
Biniam girmay was second.
Yeah. I think it was Gregoire as well, the Group Arm refugee rider there. Good ride by Teish Benoot too. No, sorry, it wasn't. It was actually Rudy Mollard. Rudy Mollard popping up there. Bling Matthews, my goodness me. I'm sure he'll watch this back at some point, probably on the home cycling right here at Eurosport. And my apologies to Bling for not calling him actually on the line. But that was
his first win of the year.
There we go. I'm out of practice with seeing him do that, but he's definitely not, is he? 3 wins now in this race. The only rider to do that.
The second of Lance and Remo, which must have annoyed him.
Yeah,
but it's kind of surprising to sort of think it's unusual for Michael Matthews winning his first race of the year in September.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm kind of with you. I wasn't sure it was Matthews either. Just kind of think who the heck else it was going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I found myself not wanting to look down at my start list and think, hang on, who have they suddenly popped up there? Jaco Alula, getting his counting right. But there was something about his form, where it was me. He's normally quite an easy rider to spot in the sprint, but I wouldn't mind seeing the head-on shot again. Not that I'm making excuses, but it was like... I tell you what, though, Bling by name and Bling by bike. Look at that bad boy. That is a kind of polish. That's got to add some weight to it, I'd have thought, as well. Very nice. Well, I don't know how you
could probably make the bike a little bit of a wet dude you like to it. But
yes, I'm sure. Well,
I enjoyed the last couple of kilometres of that. I'm amazed that sort of the Lee and Pogacar between them didn't take that out, because it's sort of under the Flamme Rouge. You thought, well, this is only going to go one of 2 ways.
Yeah,
you'd have got very long odds in anyone except one of them winning it at that point.
Everything's easy to spot in hindsight, isn't it? Yeah. And I now look at his recent results, Michael Matthews, and they point towards this. 15th in the Olympic Games road race, 7th at the Breton Classic at Douai, and then the winner today. So, of course, he was going to win it. Obviously. Let's have a look at the provisional top 10, shall we? Bling Matthews, Michael Matthews, getting his 3rd win, the Australian, ahead of Biniam girmay, Rudy Mollard it was. Ahead of Teish Benoot, a really good finish there, sprinting on the hoops. Ferdinand Hagenes, the big Norwegian, in 5th. Malcolm Mollema, the old-timer, still showing he's got it, in 6th place, ahead of Tadej Pogacar and Nelson Powers. unbelievable finale, really, in a way, Hutch, because it really did look like it was all about Dili and Pogacar. And I can't help but think those two, they're kind of coming together in the last 1,500 metres might have been what, you know, what did it. I just looked to me like Pogacar had another kick in it. Whether he didn't,
I think
whether...
they bluffed each other to a standstill. Neither of them prepared to take it on, and they got there a little bit too soon because I think I think the lot of Destiny team just ran out of momentum 300 or 400 yards too early because they just couldn't. You know, they needed to lead it out from the break, and they just didn't have the momentum, but they didn't have the ability to do that on the climb because that's the thing. Is that sort of section? It's not an easy climb. It is harder than it looks, and you have to have real strength. You can't just roll along on your own inertia. And I think that's where it went wrong. And at that point, Pogacar was prepared to risk it because he's won a lot of bike races. He can look you in the eye and sort of say, "Well, I'm gonna let you do this," which is what he did. Whether Dili didn't want to do it or whether Dili didn't have it, because he had to chase across on his own, and he didn't look like he was hanging, but maybe he was.
Well, we will bring you the podium presentation when it happens. But do stay with us for that. We're going to check back over the highlights of this 204-kilometre race in just a moment. But yeah, that was the return of Tadej Pogacar after a break since the finish of winning the Tour de France. But he's already got 21 wins this year, including the overall in various stage races. If we look back on what happened, it went from the gun at 11 o'clock this morning. Gridded start. And there was Michael Matthews right at the beginning, right at the front, on the front row, two-time winner of this race. It would be Novo